People who don't have their microphone on, welcome to the work session, and we are all ready to hear your presentation. I'm really excited. So
I'm excited
please
to be here.
take it
Great to see
away.
everyone. So on Friday, we met with, I believe, 13 educator leaders from the district and went through the document I'm going to share with you this evening to get their feedback on language for the strategic plan. And we also met with a small group of community members. Mr. Wang was there. And I'm really excited to go through it with you today. So we only have an hour. We took about 2 hours with the educators, so we're going to go as fast as we can. But of course, you have my contact information. It's in this document as well. You are welcome to share thoughts and send emails, text me, call me. Be happy to incorporate that. So for the sake of time, I'm going to jump right in if that's okay.
Yep.
So the first thing we want to do is look at the current mission statement. And I wanted to highlight a few questions that came up. And I'm going to be typing your responses into a live Google Doc. This is a PDF. Is there any way you can scroll just a little? I'm having trouble getting it. Thank you. Right there is perfect. Thank you. So this is the current mission statement. Our mission is to engage students in a world-class educational experience that prepares them to be well-rounded, ethical, innovative, creative, productive, and adaptive citizens who shape our global society. And there were two big questions that came up with this statement. The first one is around the phrase world-class. Is that too vague? Is it the right phrase? Should we work it out of the statement or replace it with something? So I wanted to open that up to the group, and I'll take some notes as you share your ideas. Galaxy class? I don't get the reference. What is that? I'm out. Tired. Okay. Love that.
You have to remind me that all night. I do believe that shorter is better when it comes to a mission statement, and I do believe that world-class and global society are a little bit redundant in the sentence. So I would say that, to me, global society would suffice, and world-class is perhaps the one of those two I would get rid of, but that is not something I feel incredibly strongly about.
Yeah, but also they do mean two different things. World class is a measure of, rank, and global citizens means that you understand more people than just the ones that live next to you. So they do serve two different things, even though they sound similar.
I think this is fine, and I don't want to spend much time on the mission statement because I think it reads fine, but there are far more important things that we actually need to talk about with the strategic plan of what we're actually going to do, and what are some of the things that may have been missed during the process, and what are the actual actionable things that we can be building out. So I don't want to spend too much time on mission statement.
I like it, get right to it. I did want to ask about this word. There was some confusion over exactly what it meant. How do you all feel about the word adaptive? It's framed here as an adjective for citizens. What does it mean to you, I guess, is my first question. And is that the right word?
To me, it means that the world is changing and they can change to meet the challenges of the future. There might be a more concise way of saying that. That's what I take from that phrase.
To me, it's divided into two parts, really. The first half of the statement is what we're going to give them, and the second half of the statement is what they're going to leave with. And so adaptive, I think, means the same thing, that they're flexible. They graduate with a skill set that can change.
So flexible was a word that came up multiple times, but there was at least one person who commented that flexible is different than adaptive. I don't want to spend too much time here either, but do you have a preference on words?
I will say this, sorry. It's far better to be adaptable than flexible, because I've never heard somebody called morally adaptable. I have plenty of people I've heard called morally flexible.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the word adaptive at all, but.
So this group would lean towards keeping adaptive. Is that fair? So should the mission statement be revised? Again, I want to respect your comment. Let's not dwell too long, but I think there was a sentiment that if we could shorten it, that would be better. Would you be open to seeing some shorter versions moving forward?
Sure.
I do have a question about this.
Yes.
Is there really so much concern over the mission statement that we need to spend time changing it?
I think it would be fair to say most people aren't aware what it is.
Yeah, that's usually what happens with mission statements. No one sees them.
I think they're most effective when they're like a phrase, literally like 4 or 5 words, not even a full sentence. So we may try to draft some things for your consideration that are more like a headline than a full paragraph.
If I can, I know mission statements are often kind of, yeah, as you said, not really the focus. I do believe in the benefit of having an aspirational mission statement. And I think that that can be important because if you're not paying any attention to your mission statement, then are you really doing what you're supposed to be doing? And so I think there has to be a point at which you can focus your energy. I think if we look at what we as a board have said for years, that we're focused on students, period. And so I don't know how you want to write that or say that, but if at any point in time we as a school corporation lose sight of the fact that we are educating students to be good people and good learners, then I'm not sure we're doing our job.
The perfect segue to our next topic, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I do want to just say I will work on trying to craft some shorter versions for your review. So currently, West Lafayette has lots of these beliefs. Some districts call these values, and they are statements, they're sentences. What I've seen work really well is creating one word or 2 words that are sort of in bold, and then you could have a definition after that. The idea being we have a memorable mission statement, a handful of beliefs / values, and then that drives our decision-making on our priorities in the plan. And it should also be something Dr. Greiner and the team can use if there's a question about where should we invest money, where should we allocate personnel. If there, for example, is something that's more of an adult-centered decision, if you can point back and say, our students are our foremost priority, this is better for students. That's the goal of having these values and beliefs. So what we did with the team, we do not have time to do this in an hour, but I had the teams look at each belief statement, kind of decide if we should, oh, you can't see my screen. That drop down where it says unsure, they could keep it, remove it, or revise it. And then in terms of order, should it be in the top third, the middle third, or the bottom third? I think we may have too many now. And so I would invite you I want to open it up. Are there any that stick out to you like, we got to keep that or keep that sentiment? Are there any that could be combined? Are there any we need to remove altogether? So if you could, Brandon, please scroll to like right there. Let's just take the first few. Oh, that PDF didn't capture is educated citizens on the next page, the phrase? It is.
Yes.
Okay. Do you all have that on your computers? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so if you would, take a moment and just look at all of them then, since you have that on your computer, and then I will invite your thoughts.
One of the thoughts I had when I read this section was if we were to restructure it so that we said our students are our foremost priority, we demonstrate that by, and then list action items rather than beliefs. You know, this is how we live up to that priority. I thought that might be more understandable and
I like that.
concise.
When we get to the strategic plan, the priorities, the objectives, the strategies, maybe making a link like this is tied to belief 1.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like where you're going with this. My opinion is less is better than more. I think both the mission statement and the beliefs, the more you have, the more likely you're not to have it to influence your decisions. I think for me, what I'm looking for is what makes it stand out. Personally, I think, of course, students are our highest priority. What school district wouldn't say that? Of course, highly effective faculty and staff are critical to our success. What school district wouldn't say that? And so that should be driving our decisions. But in some ways, I'm like, and so that's what I'm looking for is what is making us stand out and what is really driving our decisions. And to me, I don't know anyone that's not thinking of our students first and wanting great faculty. And so that's why I'd like to see a little bit more what makes you West Lafayette great.
That exact comment was made by a couple people on Friday. So does the group agree maybe it would be wise to focus on West Lafayette specific things, or should we keep one or two of these more general statements?
I can tell you historically that there have definitely been decisions made by the board and by administration that have been questioned by our community and challenged by our community. And our leadership have absolutely had to say, we made this decision for these reasons that are student focused. And so I do believe one of the things that's great about our community is that they do challenge us and they do want us to do better. So I agree, less is more when it comes to these, but I do believe in stating the obvious.
Because it's not always obvious.
Correct.
Let me ask you please about one of the statements that got the most discussion. You may have heard about this through the grapevine this weekend. It's the one that says academic excellence is the hallmark of our school corporation. That generated a lot of discussion. Before I tell you what the discussion was, I would love your reactions to that belief statement. Yes.
I don't love it. The alternative that I would propose is that students achieve their maximum potential, or something that sounds a little bit better worded in that way, rather than saying you only are successful if you hit this mark.
Thank you. Other thoughts on that statement?
Yeah, I think I also think about that during the whole weekend. I think maybe we can do that. Say, especially I joined the alumni, the World Pride. We have some alumni come back school last week, so I joined them. I heard their memories when they're in our schools. So when you think about, they're not talk about only their success, academic works in the classroom. They also athletics, they also have some art, fine art, music, or visual art. So I'm thinking maybe we can say achieve excellence together in academic, in the field, and in the art, something like that.
Something more broad.
Yeah, more broader, so we can dilute this kind of. And also, if you look at our alumni, they have Nobel Prize winners, they have Pulitzer Prize, have famous athletes, entrepreneurs, businessmen, and musicians, diplomat. So there's really, when you think about when they talk about their life in our high schools, they have so many things. They have friends for more than decades. So they think about, when they will think you will have friends in that time until now, we have still good friends, that kind of thing. So the high school is kind of part of their life, our life. So I think probably we need to get that a little bit broader.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Other reactions to that statement? Yes, sir.
I mean, it should reflect the mission statement if we're going to be focusing on that. Should have something about world-class or global society, well-rounded, ethical. I think it's about creating successful humans. I mean, that's what we try to do. It's not just academic excellence. It is a driving piece of the district, but it's integrated through everything else we do.
I say we just change it to that, creating successful humans.
Yeah.
If I can piggyback on what Lawrence said, I think he made an excellent point about what we can observe in our alumni. And for me, that is, we have created, or we offer students the opportunity to become lifelong learners so they understand how to learn and be successful. And, one of the gentlemen who spoke, we had a conversation after, and he said, I was a terrible student. I was going through really difficult things and really big health things, and I wasn't a good student. I didn't get good grades. He said, I'm not sure I passed chemistry really. It was that kind of conversation, but he learned from that how to be a learner and how to be successful. And so I think it's important that we make whatever we do approachable to everyone.
Well, I would like to share with you the rich discussion we had Friday and see if that generates any response. So the educator group felt pretty strongly, I would say unanimously, that this needed to be broadened and not just academic excellence. The community group felt that academic excellence needed to be highlighted. We shouldn't lose that because, and I'm adding a little bit of narrative now, people move to this community for that reason, right? They invest in a home, they move their lives because the school districts do provide such academic foundation for future success, whether you're a Nobel laureate, diplomat, and so on. So does that generate any sort of response, knowing there was that tension on Friday? I don't know that I'm hearing that tension in this group.
No way surprised.
What's that?
No way surprised.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that sentiment from tons of people too, and that is one of the reasons why they choose to move here instead of anywhere else they could be in the county. But I've also heard the opposite from people who may not have come to that meeting, is that they feel like their kids are under tremendous, amounts of pressure. So perhaps a happy medium would be combining the two, the academic and humanitarian excellence.
I think this is what's hard. To me, I'm grateful we've hired you to do, is trying to me combine those, because what academic excellence means to me is for some kids that they graduate from high school, for some kids that they make it to the end of high school attending our schools. And so it's trying to identify what is academic excellence. And I think for some people, it's a trigger word. It's stress, it's anxiety, it's I'm not meeting expectations. Well, then we do not want to include that. But for others, when they hear academic excellence, it means we value lifelong learners. Of course, and that is something that we thrive in this district doing. We're very good at doing in this district. Our educators, our administrators, they value that. And so to me, it's combining, I think the educators and the community both have very important things that need to be included. How to word that? Good luck.
We'll bring you some draft.
I think it gets to what we want them to do, whether it's some of it's succeed academically in college and beyond, others it's whatever other career, but I jot down, added on to the creating successful humans, or however we would want to word that, prepared to change their world. I don't say the world, I say their world, because you could be making changes in this very small sector of where you are, and not just making changes broadly in the world. And all of that is what we're trying to help students make an impact, either locally, nationally, globally. And I think that's what a lot of the strength of the school district is that in Indiana, it's one of the more diverse school districts. It's one of the ones where there is a strong global representation. It's connected to a university that is making a larger global impact. And I think being able to change their world is one of the key outcomes that we want to see with our students.
That really resonates. What do you think of the word this just came? Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Yanko, please.
Sorry, you can.
I just want to know if you all like the word agency. That seemed to be kind of, you don't care for that. Building student agency. Okay.
I personally, I think that particular statement probably can be changed into excellent education rather than academic excellence, because that emphasizes the performance too much, and also it's just too narrow. And back to the earlier discussion about the mission statement, I also agree our statement is too long, even though I like the content. And it's long, it's hard for people to remember. I checked several other schools, and they call it a motto. It's a motto house. Motto. For example, Carmel says, "Together we achieve." Then Harrison has excellence through relationships. And we may also come up with some 3-word phrase and to summarize what we care the most. And one thing I can think of is excellent education for all. And I feel that's super important, that's inclusive. And, we can, that includes students with special needs, students with different talents, also students who come from low-income families, and all students who need more challenges. So, whatever kind of students we have, we provide the tailored best education for them. So I feel that's what we should achieve, we should aim for.
Can we make it excellent education for everyone so that it's alliteration? We have all those E's.
3 E's.
No.
I like all is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Just be, I feel, I personally, I feel very strong about that.
Excellent comments. Thank you.
We also might be able to include something about valuing different types of career in a way that would be inclusive of, the state has broken it into the military and the trades and the enrollment. And we might include something that makes it clear that we don't think you have to go and get your PhD to be valued in our community.
Okay, team.
Just
Yes, please.
back to, you talk about excellent education for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, that give us EEE.
Yeah.
That's why I liked it. the
So
ease.
that can work that way, easy to remember.
Yeah.
Team, we could spend another hour on just these statements. I don't want to do that. But are there any final comments on the beliefs? And again, feel free to email me, call me, text me.
I think the beliefs are the strategic plan are going to drive what the community think of our beliefs.
Okay.
When we set up a strategic plan that shows what educating everyone looks like, I just think this strategic plan is paramount to our community to change maybe some of these triggers. Why are educators saying, I don't want this? Why are communities saying they want this? They obviously have a clear view of what we're doing, and some they're liking and not. And so to me, the big deal is going to be, what does the strategic plan say? Because then they're going to believe our beliefs depending on what our actionable items are.
Very well said.
Throw one other thought out there. One of the things that our mission statement has never needed to deal with, our school, our vision, our values, whatever, is the changing environment in terms of school structure. And I don't know that I have strong opinions about it at this point, but I just want to throw out there that we may want to consider using language along the lines of to be the school of choice. And I think that might be worth some conversation because the reality is that we don't see much of it here per se, but the way that the legislature is changing things, students do have other options.
You have something, I think, sir.
Yeah, the last value there, public education contributes to the development of productive, ethical, adaptive, and healthy citizens. Is that really ranked in the bottom third?
No, this was the order they are currently on your documentation. I don't know why bottom third is selected in that PDF. That's not intentional.
Okay.
Do you feel strongly it should be higher?
No, I was just hoping that people were ethical and they weren't picking that to be in the bottom third.
Okay, team, let's shift to now the strategic plan, some content. So there were 5 themes that emerged. I shared those at a previous board meeting. And so what we did on Friday is I invited the team to share what are some potential projects or goals aligned to each theme, and what are some potential strategies. The distinction there is not super important for this time, but it will be written in such a way that there's some measurable goal, and then there are things happening at the building levels, classroom level to achieve that goal. But what I'd like to do in the last half hour we have is gather your thoughts on each one of these themes, on what you would invite the district to consider doing to address these themes. So let's just start with the first one. You may recall the first one is we have academic excellence with room for growth. Oh, I'm sorry, one more piece of context. I'm only focusing on get betters, the survey data, the focus groups, your state level data, the niche rankings. Amazing, right? You're an amazing district. I've said that before. I'm focusing solely today on where can we level up, all right? So we're not highlighting all the amazing things we're doing at this time. Okay, so academic excellence with room for growth. A couple of you have already referenced this. There's a concern that there's intense academic pressure that can overwhelm some students. Brandon, do you mind scrolling down just a little bit? Thank you, right there. There's a need for better support for our diverse learners, students with IEPs, multilingual students, those students who are significantly below grade level, that come to us 2, 3, 4 grade levels behind. And then validating a more holistic definition of excellence beyond test scores, SAT, Ivy League admissions. So I'd love to just listen. What are your thoughts on things the district might do related to those topics?
I think we could spend more time celebrating a variety of achievements and successes. I think it was in your email, Yui, that you talked about an email for people to share. You know, if someone gets a great job out of high school, we should be celebrating those things. If someone is recognized at their job at McDonald's as Employee of the Month, we could recognize those outside of school successes that may not necessarily be Princeton or Harvard, but they're equally important and valuable and demonstrate good character or good work ethic or something along those lines.
Thank you.
One thought I had through reading some of the comments from the survey, especially from the high school students, is the need for an opportunity to provide feedback, both positive and room for growth, that I think we're missing out. We have these kids that are starting businesses, moving mountains, yet they feel like their voices are not being heard at the table. And so something, you know, teachers' voices, administrator voices, community voices, but to me, most importantly, especially at the high school level, because they are older and understand this more, of an opportunity to provide feedback so that we can know how to address and improve. And I think they've honestly answered all these problems for us. And if we would turn more to them, I think that we would be a lot further than we are right now.
Thank you. Yes.
Building off of that, I think one of the challenges that I've had with coming into this process sort of in the middle is that there were a lot of surveys, a lot of focus groups, and then the data was all sorted through, and then we have this stage now. But I don't think that, and we're looking at all of the consistency across themes. But I wonder if there are a lot of things that maybe one person brought up that others might have brought up if they had thought about it. Had you guys thought about going back through and like identifying a lot of the little things that different people brought up to then provide an opportunity for other people to weigh in on that? Because sometimes it might just be one person, whereas it might actually be a lot more than one person, so it wasn't built enough into across surveys because people didn't have time or didn't think about it, or the way that the surveys were designed didn't elicit feedback on those specific areas. So I think that there needs to be more of an iterative process here, and I think that builds off of what Deja was saying, and getting that more of that feedback, because there might be something in there that several people, if it was brought up again, would be like, yeah, you know, that is something that we've had a challenge with, and that might broaden out specifics that we can focus on.
I'm happy to respond to that, or go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think that your explanation here will also include what I'm about to ask you. To me, this feels a little bit in the weeds in terms of what we want to do in terms of a strategic planning. And so if I were to say that a goal was to create opportunities for academic excellence, one of the methods to get to that might be to engage families. It might be to engage students. It might be to establish a feedback loop that's successful. To me, those are a little bit like a step down in the strategic plan. And so I don't know if the structure here is really to give us kind of a bullet point and then talk about some possibilities to get that done. That part I'm not clear on.
Yeah, so taking that in turns, you know, we did a robust listening session. So we did multiple surveys. I facilitated focus groups at each school. We had online community video meetings. We had in-person. We did the Friday sessions. There's no doubt that iteration and continuous improvement need to be a component of this. In theory, you could ask follow-up questions endlessly. And I think if this body or the district leaders feel that there are specific things we should follow up on, we could build that into a process. But I do feel like we've gathered literally thousands of comments. And so I feel quite confident that these are the key themes. To your point, it's really hard to see one comment out of 2,000 and say, that's the one I should follow up on. That's really difficult to do. I'm not saying it's not worthwhile. I think that's a different a follow-up process. To your point, I think what I'm inviting this group to do is think of like high level, you want to celebrate, you can't see my screen, celebrate a variety of achievements and successes, whether that's someone that starts their career right out of high school or does something in the community that demonstrates good character. That's a goal, right? And we can work on quantifying language. The strategy might be each school has a monthly, because you're doing monthly newsletters now, where you invite parents to share something their kid achieved outside of school. And then there's quarterly validation or celebrations or reward ceremonies for those students at each school. I'm making this up, but that would be more the strategy component to achieve the project or goal of the district, which is to validate there are multiple ways to be successful. If we look at the second bullet, like supporting more diverse learners, I think a perfect one is increase special education state assessment scores by X. What's the strategy? Well, a year ago or so, or maybe it's been less than a year, you hired a director of special education to serve your student. That's a concrete thing you're doing to allocate an investment and personnel to achieve an outcome. So I said a lot and I answered 2 questions, but I welcome your thoughts and feedback on that. Dr. Yang.
In fact, we have done something related. For example, for a long time, we have the monthly celebration of the Good Citizen Award from different
So you're already
schools.
doing that?
Yeah, we for several years, we have been doing that, right? So before we moved to this room. And so actually, every time when I listen to those stories and that the principals shared, I was very impressed. And so how those kids help others and help teachers and, make other people's life brighter. And so I just feel it's also a kind of communication issue because I felt, okay, those stories actually should be shared more widely because otherwise only those who are here at the meeting know about that.
Right.
Others are still, okay, I need to get a straight A. That's my main goal. It's ignore many other very important things. So, one thing we can do is we can simply put those kids in the newsletter and with the principal's comments. And actually, I think the original come from teachers. And in those newsletter and highlight those kids who may not be a straight A student, but their achievement, their character are celebrated as well. And they are role models for many other kids. And so I feel that can also de-emphasize a little bit, you have to be a straight A student, that's the only thing we value, and that's not the case. I feel actually many teachers already emphasize other things. I heard from my kids, but just the peer pressure, the family pressure, just push the kids to that way, make everybody very stressed out.
Absolutely. And to Ms. Mumford's point earlier, maybe we ask the students, who's doing something that your teachers don't know about that's amazing? And that's a committee or that's part of, you probably already have an entity that could do that at the school level at some of the buildings.
Speaking of which, I'm curious, in your work, did you come across any indications that particularly when it comes to academic pressure, that the students are talking about it amongst themselves and kind of amplifying it themselves, or is it coming from other sources?
Yes, I think it's very peer driven. Like a good example is, I heard at the high school, students are starting clubs or joining clubs just to build their resume, and there's a pressure to like be in enough clubs, and I don't want to just be part of a club, I want to be the founder of a club because that looks even better. It's very much a peer and self-driven expectation that, man, if I want to get into this school, I can't just be a member of a club, I have to have started it.
I'll say too that while I agree it would be very good to get some student feedback, and I'll also say that because of that tendency our students do have, and they maybe have not yet achieved a level of maturity to understand the harm it can cause, that they do have the potential to, and I've watched it happen, take something that one would feel was very positive and turn it into a negative because it doesn't hit there. So, I mean, I can just speak from my observation and experience with my own children, you know. One of them was really strongly questioned by her peers. Why would you go there? Why would you choose that college? Why? That one's not good enough. You could do better. And I think that kind of language is not helpful to our students. And so I do want to use a little caution there. Again, I agree student feedback is good, but student feedback would need to be a part of a larger equation.
Yeah.
It sounds like something we need to add to one of the action items is training the staff and the guidance staff to at least subtly discourage that kind of talk.
They try.
So some conversations.
I figured they did, but yeah.
I do want to ask before we go on to the next topic, if this team has any thoughts on the diverse learner component. You may recall from some early data in this process that, you know, you guys are just hitting home runs in all your student groups except special education. So does this group have any thoughts on what you'd like to see done?
I would like to see us not use the word diverse because I think it's a trigger, but I'd like us to include that philosophy and concept and priority. But I think pretty much any words that begin with D, E, and I, we probably want to avoid using. Well, I just, this is not political. It's about doing the right thing for kids, and we don't need to add anything that could be distracting to that effort.
Fair enough.
So my own kids, one of my own kids is one of those kids. And just from my personal experience in dealing with the staff at the school and also observing other people, I think a lot of the problem when it comes to access to services is families are overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. They don't know what the different words mean. They don't know what the difference is between an IEP and a 504 plan. They don't know potentially what they're eligible to get. They don't know about outside services. So I think some of those problems can be solved by training the parents in what's available, what the kid might qualify for, what they might not qualify for.
Thank you. Team, let's go to the next one. We talked a little bit about differentiated academic supports for special education students, ML students. There was also some commentary about behavioral interventions for students that may need that, and then improved family engagement across cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds. I do want to say, broadly speaking, not broadly, unanimously, everyone found it a real asset to be such a global community. The concern was, are we reaching out successfully to all of those different communities? So are there things from a initiative standpoint that you think could be helpful in that regard?
I would be very interested to know how this dovetails with the family-friendly designation, because I think those things are probably very overlapping, and maybe it's just that we want to pursue or continue to maintain that family-friendly designation, but I think we would want to have common language there.
Did you achieve that this year, or you're in the process? We're in the process. That would be a clear objective, right? Become a family-friendly school.
Mrs. Roth is in charge, so I would
Okay.
imagine we'll make it.
Yeah, they're gonna make it. I feel like there was another comment I missed. Yeah.
I was going to say, to me, under the serving everyone in the community is looking at who is choosing not to attend our schools and why. It's expensive to live in the West Lafayette School District. You're paying the referendum. So what are we missing out? And I feel like in some ways, we have more of a defensive approach than a problem-solving approach in analyzing why we're not meeting kids' needs. Now, yes, we want to allow their needs to be met, and sometimes that is homeschool is what's best, but I think too often we're hearing some very valid feedback from them, and I don't think we're honing in enough on those enrollment numbers. The transfer policy, you know, when I read some of the statements from people moving in that are transfer students, I think this is important to be looking at, is this whole enrollment process, to me, very much contributes to serving everyone in our community.
So there could potentially be objectives around streamlining enrollment or responding in some way to a reason people are leaving. And by the way, this body may know this, but that data is publicly available, who leaves, or not the individuals, but where they go.
Yeah, and the administrators do a great job of sharing that, but I feel like we're still missing out on a lot of that. And I don't know where, I was trying to decide where I would put it. Through reading the comments and listening to the community, I feel like, and I know this is something that's important to me, is our transfer policy. That there's, I mean, and right now, possibly it's on my mind because there's so many families moving in and they keep asking, what is your transfer policy? Do you accept students? What happens if we get in your school district? Will you kick us out? There's a lot of people that live in the community aren't happy with the ones that are transferring in, those that are, and so I feel like at this stage with the strategic plan that we need to have that conversation and decide what is the transfer. Are we doing international students? Are we accepting transfer students just from TSC? You know, because that is our whole community and everyone should feel safe and welcomed and no fear. If you're a transfer student, you shouldn't have fear to speak up with concerns because you might get kicked out. And I'm not saying our administrators have kicked them out, but I do know families who have expressed that worry. And so to me, a clear transfer policy would address and make everyone very aware of how we handle things and what's going on, is one thought.
Just to follow up on that, and then I'd love more comments. So I'm asking out of ignorance, is there a documented transfer policy now? Okay. Did you have something? Sir?
Yeah, they just want to actually clarify something. So are you saying that people are coming to you saying that they fear that they're going to be kicked out of the school district? Mm-hmm. Are these people who live within the boundaries or are these transfer people who think they're going to? Okay.
I will say my kids are transfers. And some little anxiety we have every year when we fill out that form is, are they going to get picked again? Because it's not written in their policy that you're guaranteed to stay in the district we go to.
Okay.
That kind of thing makes you go like, oh, what do we do if they don't get accepted this year, even though they've not had any issue? But like to your point about defining it, well, if they get this suspension, do they get booted? You know what I mean?
Well, and the student well-being, I mean, I've shared this with our superintendent, and like I said, is I'm not worried with our current administration, but I do know juniors who have been in our school district since kindergarten, and they're like, are they going to kick me out your senior year? And my viewpoint for student well-being is if we think there's room for that student to join our school district, they're part of our family, unless, you know, we do have attendance and discipline things, but they're, like you said, is we don't need unnecessary stress if it's not something that we're even considering to kick them out. Let's make sure they feel safe, a part of our family, to me is important.
Can I just say, I do believe we have, if my memory is correct on our policy, we do have a grandfather clause that if they're a senior, they can continue. So it's not, I'm 99% sure that exists. I have not looked it up. But
It's legal, a law.
yeah,
It's legal
it is
too.
in law. Yeah, I thought
legislation.
that it existed. If they're a senior, they get to stay, period.
Nice.
So that's
Some
not,
schools do grade level bands, like you're definitely in K2 or you're definitely in 3-5, but good luck at grade 6, you know, like so clarifying that can relieve some anxiety for students and families. Other thoughts on?
Yeah, a couple things, Phil. I agree. I do think it needs to be just much more clear with details laid out, especially if it is a law. Then let's just have a page on that. But I want to get back to, Deja, what you had said about the students who are living in our district and aren't coming in. We looked at the numbers a month or two ago, and I do think that like a very strategic planning thing to do would be figure out, are there ways to bring those families back? Are there specific things? Maybe somebody just really wants a different school, great. Or they really want to homeschool and they really want to live like walking distance to Purdue. But if there are structural reasons why multiple families have left, then that's something that we need to think about. It's a two-prong issue of one, those are families in our district who we need to make sure that we're serving, and also numbers of of students is important for us for our total budget. And so if those students are living here but not going to our schools, that negatively affects the funding that we get from the state. And so doing some type of analysis and plan for how we could potentially bring them back, if that's even necessary, I think would be a worthwhile targeted thing that we can put to the administration to do.
Thank you very much.
So my question on that, so what Dr. Reiner's been doing is giving us a reason, essentially, a category of reasons. It's personal preference, it's whatever it is. To me, and I have been the parent of a child that's transferred out of the district because of where their friends were, right? Which is a very legitimate reason to want to do that. I think that I would be hesitant. I feel us getting a little bit down into the nitty gritty of, hey, superintendent, you need to go and find those people and find out what it is, where I think really a strategic plan would be more along the lines of action items, identify children transferring out, have a system in place where a reason would be identified, report on that routinely, whatever. It's not much different than what happens already, but I would be hesitant to determine that all students leave because something horrible has happened, right? And so I think it's a matter of setting up expectations on strategic plan, not necessarily telling them how to get to that expectation.
Right, I don't disagree that it's not assuming that they're all leaving for bad reasons, but the leaving for personal reasons or personal decision is very vague and can be, but maybe there's a need for us to have an external group do, I wouldn't want to, it's not an audit, but like just to see if they can do some focus groups or quick interviews with families to really understand if there is something systematic. And if there isn't, that's great. And but if there is, it could identify something for us as a school district to change to help keep more families in the school district. I think that's part of the strategic planning process, is figuring out what we might not be doing quite right, if there is something, and then, or that things are working the way that they should, and we can move on to the next thing.
Couple things real quick. If there's anyone out in the hall waiting, you're welcome to come in. This is our work session, but the meeting will start soon, so please join us.
So go ahead.
Sorry, and I would like to wrap up in the next 5 minutes so we can have a little break between meetings, so, okay.
I think, you mentioned the word audit. It's something we've helped schools do for like pre-K, but I think would be applicable here is do a landscape audit. Who are the people in our community that aren't coming here and why? We don't have time to go through the next three. I do think I want to highlight the next one though. Student well-being came up regularly in all of our conversations. I know the phrase mental health can be a trigger for some, and I respect that. So I've come to saying well-being, and of course parents are first and foremost responsible for their child's well-being, but there was significant discussion around should the schools connect students and families with more supports either in the building or in the community? Do we need to expand teacher training on student well-being and wellness? We got tactical, even with the educators, about evaluating homework testing and scheduling policies to balance academics with well-being. Things as simple as the math department gives tests on this day rather than anytime they want, so that students don't have 4 tests in a day. That may not be of interest to this group, and then repeating again the emphasis on the broader definition of student success. So if a student feels like, hey, my potential right now with what I have going on in life is to get to the graduation stage, celebrating that. Responses, thoughts on the well-being row?
Kind of similar to the comment George made earlier about the special education. I feel this is a teamwork, and parents also need some training as well. And it would be helpful to have some workshops on those issues, because sometimes, especially teenagers, don't necessarily communicate with their parents regularly. And I think it would be helpful for parents to better know the kids' developmental needs. Another thing you mentioned is about, space out the test. For example, maybe we can do today is a language day, test day, math test day, social study test day, so they all spread out. Otherwise, if kids have, too many tests on the crunched together, it's just too much stress. Another thing is I think some kind of a calibration of the grades might be needed. And as far as I know, some of the class, I all support academic rigor, but some of them might be too challenging. And for some of the kids, in order to avoid having a bad grade, they have to take the same classes from Purdue. That means our classes are harder, more difficult, more challenging. And then the Purdue classes, same one, I'm talking about the same one. So in that case, and I understand that, our classes prepare our students very well for the college, but so to what degree, we need to kind of make it appropriate for their age level and make it aligned with, for example, if it's an AP exam, AP class, and maybe we can compare the students' grade in the class with their AP performance to see whether there's a big discrepancy. And if so, either ours too loose or too hard, maybe we can make some adjustment to make it more reasonable. And so.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make more of a general comment. Across all of this, it seems like everything across all three schools is lumped in together. And I think some of these comments are much more applicable to different schools.
Fair.
And I think that it probably needs to be some consideration of what should happen in the earlier years versus the later years, both at the student and at the teacher support level or building support level, and how what we do early on lays a foundation. I would think more of a preventative approach than an intervention approach to all of these things. If we talk some of the mental health discussions, we're focused really at the high school level, but a lot of the seeds for that are planted earlier on. And so really trying to construct ideas that don't just focus at one level or focus on trying to ameliorate the issue at that end stage, but how can we address this at the system level and the different pieces that go into that. I think that needs to be visible in the strategic plan.
Well said. I think in the draft, you'll see if the topic is student well-being, there will be initiatives that are K2, 3, whatever is applicable. So I think that's a wonderful insight.
We're going to let George have the last word, and then we're going to take a break.
Last word.
One other thing occurred to me about the special education discussion. We talked about better informing parents about what the options are, but I recall some anecdotes that were told to me by some of the teachers and the staff. And of course, they didn't name names. But one big problem is trying to cure the stigma that some parents have that special education is a bad thing. And so that would go a long way towards improving those numbers. If we could convince parents that it's okay to sign your kids up for the stuff.
Thank you for sharing that.
All right, I just want to remind everybody that Adam has graciously included his cell phone number on here. So if you have other thoughts that you'd like to share with him, you have all the information to be able to do so. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you in a couple months.
Yes, thank you all very much.
We're going to take a brief recess, and we'll come back at 6. That's 7 minutes from. I'm going to go ahead and call us to order at 6 p.m. Welcome to the West Lafayette Community School Corporation regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees. Thank you very much. Tonight we have two presentations from the high school. We have Mr. Strode first with athletical highlights, please.
I won't adjust this, I'll leave it here. Excuse me. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about the athletics department. Share just a few things that are going on, and I think Mr. Rogers will share some other athletic-minded things as well. First thing, I'm Joel Strode. I'm the athletic director. This is my 17th year at West Lafayette. This is my 7th as AD. Coach Fry, Shane Fry, has taken over the assistant athletic director role, and be a great time to talk about. He's taken the spot from Coach Schott, Jane Schott, who longtime teacher and coach at West Lafayette, who's moved on to be an assistant commissioner at the IHSA. I'm not sure how much everybody realizes what a big deal that is, what a great honor that is for her. And piggyback, she's earned the honor on her own, but it's also a cool thing for our school. And our school corporation, our community, that somebody has worked here so long and is so well thought of in the state to go take that role. So congratulations to her. Coach Fry teaches, 4 classes during the day, and then he's in the athletic office a couple hours to assist with various duties. It's been a great addition, and enjoying working with him in that role. Also, welcome to Robin Beckham. It's their 4th year in the district. Some of you might remember she actually taught my youngest at preschool. She was at Federated Preschool, which has been a great service to our community. They're closing, which is a sad thing. But she's been previously at the elementary school, and then she's been a tremendous addition to the athletic department. She's super professional, very smart and capable, and just a great face when people come in there. Also, she replaces longtime school corporation employee Kathy Slaughter. And Kathy means the world to me because I was fairly new in this role, and she changed from the secretary up in the main office and came down to the athletic office. And just the institutional knowledge that she has in athletics and definitely in West Lafayette is missed. But she stops by regularly and helps Robin and updates me on all things. So miss her, but happy for her retirement. The next slide here, a couple other departments that are just instrumental to athletics and our operation. First, Gusta and Steffi. Gusta's been here for 17 years. She was my athletic trainer for the baseball team my first year at Westside, so we kind of came in together. And then Steffi Anderson has been here 7 years. She came in as my first year as AD. So those two are family to me, and the coaches and the kids and community. You up here as parents have probably had nothing but wonderful interactions with them. They do so much for all of us, and couldn't do it without them. Transportation department, I know Mr. Caldwell has given presentations here and been to other meetings, so you know him well. Also Anna Hurst that helps him. It's an incredible duo, and they've developed and put together such a dedicated team of obviously the trip drivers that get our kids to and from school, but also, the route drivers that get our kids to and from school, but also the athletic trips. It's a lot. And this has been a problem area for athletics across the state with not being able to get buses, not being able to get early leave times. And when we're struggling, one of those two hops in a minibus or hops in a yellow bus and finishes a route so we can get a leave time and we don't have to adjust times, which means our kids are getting home from events earlier and getting sleep and doing their schoolwork. So you don't think about all those little things that they do. He certainly doesn't have to do that, but as a community and athletic department, we really benefit from that leadership. Just in general, we've got 22 varsity sports. Obviously, a lot of those sports teams have JV levels. Some have freshman levels or a C team, not strictly freshmen. Well, we've got a dozen junior high sports as well. Over 100 coaches, including paid and volunteer. That number kind of seemed overwhelming when I started to write them all out and look at the spreadsheet. We've got a mix of lay coaches, so coaches who aren't teachers. I think we've got a pretty good staff of coaches who are also teachers. This administration has been supportive of, and we've got quality teaching candidates who also coach, making that a priority. I think that helps our program, helps our kids. I think we've got some really highly effective teachers who also coach sports teams, and I hope we can continue to do that when possible. Just something to think about coaching. It's a hard job. It's not getting any easier. As I reflect, being out of it for 7 to 8 years now, maybe even the role cell phones have played in that process. I didn't used to have parents texting me as a coach or kids texting, and that in 7 years, right? That's blown up. That's just one example, but it's such a dedicated group, and they do so much for kids, and hopefully they're appreciated. I was reminded before I spoke here to give a shout out to Coach Fry, Chauncey Fry, that is, our softball coach. Last week, you probably saw online, she got her 100th victory, and it was quite dramatic. Bottom of the 10th inning, a walk-off home run. It was exciting for her, and she had family and friends there to celebrate. So it was a great night for her. Put together a few slides with some data about different things with participation. And you can take as much as you'd like from this, or not a ton. It depends. We could dissect it at a much deeper level, but kind of some interesting stuff, right? We've kind of hovered around 1,100 for the 7 through 12 building, I think consistently for the past several years. The high school, just about 750 is kind of the number I use in my head. So over 50%, 55% this current year participating in athletics. It's a significant amount of our student body. That's a large number. I don't know, this isn't a large enough growth to say, as far as I'm concerned, that we're growing necessarily without diving in deeper, but those are numbers I think we're proud of. I think it means we've got good people in place running different programs, and if we keep that many kids out, I think we can take that as a positive trend overall. The next thing, if we kind of break it down, the different genders, males, females, different sports teams, different offerings. I can go back a few years ago, if you look at the 2021 or 2020, 2021, that year's a little bit tough, right? We're coming off of COVID. There was a lot of things going on, and when we started the fall, it was still the mass contact tracing and 2-week stuff. It was not a fun time to be a coach or student athlete or athletic director. But, so if we kind of look more at the 21, 22 data, right, there was a difference in 90. And, I don't know that there's a target number, but that was too many as far as the girls' sports. So I'm really proud to see, we've grown all the way up to, 282 female student athletes this current year, and only a difference of around 40 there between the boys teams and girls teams. So I put on the side there, there's not necessarily the goal for it to be equal, just because if we start diving into the different teams, what does that look like? Well, in the fall, you're comparing a volleyball program that they only typically keep about 24 student athletes, and football, we've got more kids out for football than we've ever had, right? It was probably 75 or 67, I think was what it was today. They probably started in the 70s, and it's trending up even for next year, right? We had 3 football teams this year instead of 2. So, or boys wrestling versus girls wrestling, right? Girls wrestling was an emerging sport, and the IHSA just adopted it. We currently don't have as many female wrestlers as we do male, but something to look forward to. So I just wanted to point out, it's not a target to have those identical, but proud of the growth overall, and I think those are good things. The next one, go back there, excuse me. This is one I'm most proud of as an athletic director. You don't get data like this unless it's intentional, and you can't get kids participating in this number of sports unless the coaches are working together. and if the coaches are making it possible for kids doing this. So at a school our size, it's kind of critical that we have kids who are playing multiple sports to be competitive in a lot of our sport programs. So it's great as I look. We've got 288 multi-sport athletes this school year. Just really a positive thing and something I'm really proud of. Is like I said, as AD. The 3-sport athlete, it's pretty steady. We peaked there at 84 in 21, 22, and went down and came back up. It's hard to be a 3-sport athlete. It's hard to be a single sport athlete. It's even harder to be a 2-sport athlete, and you almost have to be a little crazy to do 3 during the year. But it's awesome that we have leaders in place that create that opportunity for kids, and that makes us attractive, I think, in the area for kids to want to come here and play sports. The IHSA transfer policy and changes for 25-26, I know you guys just mentioned this in the work session a bit as far as our school. With the state's push for school choice, this has trickled into the athletic arena. And basically the IHSA didn't really get out ahead of the state, but they know what's going on at the State House, and for the IHSA to maintain some control in the process, they got out and created a new bylaw. What that's mostly going to look like, I guess maybe I'll explain the current process versus what it's going to look like. The current process for a kid to transfer schools athletically, once they get into high school, so you can transfer junior high, you can transfer before your freshman year starts. But once you get in high school, the easiest way to get full athletic eligibility is to move residents into the district. Right? It's not guaranteed, but that's probably the easiest. If you don't move into the district, there's still a list of a dozen or so boxes that you could potentially check to get full eligibility, but it's harder. I'd say in the county, we've got a pretty good working relationship among ADs, and we generally do what's best for kids, which is try to get them athletically eligible so they go out and do what they love. The new process, what it's going to look like, and it hasn't been completely finalized, but essentially students are going to get almost a free transfer, their first 6 semesters of high school. So if they transfer their senior year, it'd be a little bit messier, but the first 6 semesters of high school, they would get a free transfer. That's a little bit crazy to think about what that will look like in some places. And people ask, am I in favor of it? Am I against it? Well, that's a loaded question, first off, but I'd say maybe in the Indianapolis area where there's more schools close by, these transfers are probably more prevalent than they are a place like us. Of course, we've got several great schools within the county, and people might change a bit. But it is tough. It's going to be, I think, I worry about how it's going to affect our coaches, right? If you have kids that, might want to go somewhere else, or kids that come in, it's just a different dynamic for people to deal with. But how does it affect us? And I know our transfer policy, it's probably about, I don't want to say as strict as they come, but it's relatively strict across the landscape of the state, right? We accept transfer students from TSC. It's ongoing, the process right now. People apply or fill out paperwork at TSC. It comes to our central office, and they go through that process. So I don't know that it affects us as much as it affects some schools, where there's certain schools that if I want to leave here, I can just go to that school, and if I show up and enroll, they're going to accept me. It's a little bit different here, and I guess if our transfer policy is not changing, I don't see the new IHSA policy affecting us as much as it does others. Will it affect us? Of course, because it's different. But I don't think it affects us to the degree that other schools. And as far as our transfer policy and student athletes coming, I think it's tough when you kind of get into it. I think it's a great thing because people want to come to our schools. It's not just for athletics, right? They want to come to our schools for the size of it. They want to come to our schools for the academics, for the wonderful fine arts programs we have. So it gets tough because I get questions about it as athletic director. A board member mentioned, you get questions about it as board members, but I celebrate that people want to come play athletics at West Lafayette, just like I'd celebrate that they want to come, be in the musical or be with robotics or whatever. So I just see it as another avenue, another group to help kids kind of get adjusted once they do come to our schools. The last slide I have here was just about facilities. Thank current administration. I feel like in it was either 21 or 22. I put 22 here. We walked every square foot, I feel like, of the school corporation, and there's a plan in place to improve facilities. It doesn't mean that it happens overnight. We'd like it to, right? But it takes time. We've got to have money, but it's awesome to have a plan. It's great to have that to go look at and to feel like, there's things happening. Just want to share, and I think you all know this, but it's constant, right? There's no end to improving facilities. There's no end to maintaining facilities. As soon as you get a brand new aquatic center, there's things you got to start thinking about repairs with it, or it's constant. And this next one, it doesn't mean to be a negative thing, but I feel like we've always celebrated athletic success with average facilities. And I don't mean average in a bad way, but I hope we can keep striving to give the kids top-notch facilities in all things, and really see what they could do with that. And just highlight a few upcoming upgrades. The new track, of course, at the athletic complex is much needed. We've already had to move an event this spring to make some additional repairs. The lights at the athletic complex, just highlight that, we call them football lights, but it's the football team out there. It's track and field. It's unified track and field. It's band, dance, cheer, and other community events. So that's a big deal besides just football, but not to discredit football. Of course, the tennis courts, you as the board know all about the tennis courts. Really excited that it's moving forward. And then a couple, 2-3 scoreboards that maintenance has identified as not being able to be repaired any longer, essentially, is why that's happening. So that's all I have. Of course, if you've got questions or, yes, sir.
Yeah, I do have a question. It wasn't in your presentation, but it's in something else we're going to be talking about this evening. For athletic trainers, a new contract with the same trainers you mentioned, but the only sport that is specifically mentioned in the contract is varsity football, and all the other sports are as needed. I'm just curious about how you make the determination about what sports need presence of trainers and when.
Yeah, so the training coverage potentially with the new provider, it will cover the same sports teams that are currently covered. We have 2 full-time trainers. Basically, it's all of the high school athletic programs, all the high school teams, and then they also do junior high football, the games, and they also do junior high home wrestling meets. And the reason is basically just for the need. Oftentimes wrestling matches, things happen, and it's really great to have a trainer there. But no changes in the coverage.
Okay, so even though the contract only specifically mentions varsity football, you've got plans for athletic coverage for just about everything?
Everything we currently have now. Yep. Yeah.
Your math teacher is showing, thank you for the graphs and the data and the information. It's really helpful to see it in that way. Thank you.
So you had mentioned social media earlier when you talked about the Chauncey Fry's 100 wins. I've followed all the social media, and you guys have been doing a great job with that. So I wanted to say thank you for that. Also, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the work that y'all have done in terms of redeveloping some of the structures for the youth programs that are essentially feeder programs for our junior, senior high school. There have been some changes with baseball and softball. And if you have plans for other aspects of really developing the whole structure of our youth programs.
This is something I talked about. It's not getting any easier for coaches. this is an area where it's not getting any easier for coaches, right? Because it might have used to just be a varsity team, and now you're 7 through 12 or maybe even K through 12 running a program. So, I mean, some highlights in the past few years. I think maybe when Coach Van Arsdale got here, basketball, he and Coach Schock kind of redeveloped some of the youth basketball. We were able to move some of the high school programming out of the elementary gyms. Right here, the two elementary principals have been gracious. We've got our own kids using their gyms, and we've got high school kids out of there. That's been a great service to families in the community. We're here right next to the baseball, softball complex, kind of with their administration outgoing. Our high school baseball coach and softball coach have put together a team to kind of help manage and run that, and it's a great service. I'm trying to think of other ones that have things already in place. The youth track program, we still see Coach Custer and the Purdue club doing wonderful things. Tennis, Parks and Rec will be a struggle this summer because hopefully if all gets approved, the tennis courts here will be remodeled. Football, it's an in-house program run by the coaching staff and with a group of parents. So top to bottom, that's kind of what we're doing. And there's not specific plans for other sports who maybe aren't doing all those things, but certainly if there's a need, I'd welcome inquiries from parents or board members or anyone. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. It's very impressive and I really enjoyed it. So I have several kind of comments. So first, I think those information probably can go to our school's profile, and Dr. Greiner earlier talk about a brag sheet. I think this kind of information like the bar chart and those probably can go to our brag sheets because the participation rates and the number of sports the kids participant is so impressive. Maybe if we can have some reference and from the state average or something, it would be probably more silent than those our strengths. Another thing is I think it will be also beneficial for families and if just recently I participated in a kind of a new sixth grader parents what's a meeting called and organized by
Open house?
Yeah, open house. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, the principal and the assistant principal and the counselors present and introduce the high school, junior high, and to parents. I think probably presentation like the sports opportunities and can be presented to the kids and the parents as well, and it will be very helpful. And I feel some of the kids may feel, I'm not good at sports, but in fact, I noticed that many of the sports, you don't have to be a winner to be in those sports, right? And for example, my daughter participated in the cross country, and when she first started, I kind of pushed her a little bit. I tried, and she tried it. She fell in love into it, and she told me that make her happy. And so she make a good friend there, and I think the coaches encourage them to have develop a good sportsmanship and the team spirit and be persistent and so many good things about the sports. I feel especially in the situation when kids are quite stressed out, I feel the sports really bring a lot of benefits to them, not only the health, but physical health, but also mental health. And I'm really grateful for what you do and all the coaches, what they do, especially after their long day of teaching, they coach the kids afterwards. That's hard work. I really appreciate that.
The fall coaches, I think, do a great job, Mr. Polk, with cross country. It's the perfect introduction and opportunity for a kid maybe that's not done athletics, right, for the first several years of participation to kind of get there, and you got a great group of coaches and teammates and friends. And
it's just like magic. I was very, very impressed. I originally thought, okay, you have nothing to do, just try that. Then she became so falling in love into it. I'm very amazed.
Her time improved throughout the season too, so it'll be fun to watch her if she continues that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss you? I'm so sorry.
Building on that, I really thought the communication from the cross-country coaches was fantastic. You had also mentioned that you have several coaches who aren't teachers. Do you have a training or guidelines for them for communication? Because I know that the communication isn't as consistent across other groups.
You're right. There's certain areas that are, I'd say, more challenging for lay coaches versus the coaches that are teachers, right? Because the teachers they're trained to do this, to work with kids and parents. So yeah, it takes more guidance from the athletic department, and Final Forms is kind of in place if everybody's using it, right? In a perfect world, we get everybody to use it, and the communication comes from there. And that's something we can do better, certainly with lay coaches and staff coaches to make that communication more consistent. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next up is Mr. Rogers. Come on down.
Good evening, everybody. Is this a clicker? Okay. Click away. I'm really nervous. I didn't practice this. And can you hear me okay? All right. So before I get started, I don't want my timer to start yet. I don't want it to start yet. Wall of Pride, we just finished that. That was my first Wall of Pride day, which is amazing. Thanks for everybody that showed up either Thursday or Friday. Robotics leaves tomorrow for nationals. If you follow me on Twitter, I went to practice. I was invited to practice, which was pretty cool. I went to practice. I knew nothing what anybody was telling me. These kids are like superstars and everything. And I had one girl, she was showing somebody how to do a lathe, and then she went over and talked with the kids about how to raise funds, and then she went over here and did something else, and I don't really know, but they needed the bot to go faster this way. That's all I know. So that's amazing. So they take off tomorrow, and then this last weekend we had ISMA again for the performing arts, lots of golds there. So all of these things are kind of taking place before I even did this. So here we go. Yes. So demographics real fast. The stuff in red, aside from the GPS site, were just some of the small changes from the last time you saw that. So that's all that slide is. This one is a little bit newer, so if it's in kind of black italics, that would be the new data. I thought you might be interested in the chart over to the right. So this is something that we look at pretty regularly, and this is new, kind of a daily report of what our cohort looks like. And that's a big deal for all of us high school people. What's our cohort? That's our graduation rate. We talk about numerators and denominators. And so right there, we've got different colored things. Some of those might be kids that moved away, so they're not in the cohort. You can see that one says disinterest in curriculum, which means they dropped out. Some of them might be transferred to another school. So we have to pay attention to that 182. So down at the bottom, I said 190 is what we are anticipating. Some are early graduates as well. So we're anticipating 190 at a 194. Now the bad news is that's probably the best it can be. The two that are truant, that means they've dropped out, and two that are disinterested, the parents have removed them. So what you may have seen in the lower rates, this is something that really Shelby Johnson's excellent at. We did it where I came from, is we needed to go through and audit that and clean that up. It is amazing how many times kids get stuck in our data that the state doesn't remove for us. So I can't tell you how many times we've gone through a list and we're like, they graduated, I gave them the diploma, I remember shaking their hand, and they're showing not. Or that child never walked into our high school and they're still on our cohort and they're counting against us. Or the child moved out of state and there wasn't a box checked just right, and so that's counting against us. So there's a whole lot of cleanup. So that live data is helping us out, I think, not have to worry about that cleanup towards the end. So I just wanted to highlight that with you. Everything else I think you guys can read. SAT scores still really, really high. I think really one of the best in the state, if not the best in the state. So I was going to say next to you, Brandon. Some highlights. So it is really difficult to highlight everything that we do in the junior, senior high. So this is a little bit of a kind of a junior high, if you will, and some unique ones. So one, Sharanya Carr, she's going to nationals in Washington, D.C. So she won the regional spelling bee, and she's heading off. And then Andrelyn and Anna, they're here. Mrs. Forbes, I think, is representing, yes, right? The Scholastic Art and Writing Competition, and you can read that. So these two were, give me the title again. They're going to nationals, correct? Or they won nationals. Which one is it?
Medals at the national.
Thank you. Won medals at the national level. If I read my own thing, I'll actually know that. And this one I love, not that I'm favoring Alex. I had to go read about it. So he's National High School Championships, Junior Nationals in orienteering. And Mr. Polk gave this to me, so I'm thinking it's cross country. So do you know what it is? Okay, thank you. So yeah, they basically run around with navigations, compass, and whatever. They get dropped off, they're lost, they gotta use this and run all over the place. There's the cross-country piece. And then I locate little different parts of the map or whatever. I have never heard of it. You guys are nodding your heads, so now, fine, fair enough, you guys know it. I didn't know it, I found it to be fascinating. Okay, so goal number one. So everything in red, I'm trying to update with you all, since I talked about this the last time, so I thought I'd go back through. If you look at our social worker, the amount of sessions that she's doing is just absolutely fantastic, really trying to provide that need, that social, emotional, and mental health for our students. The Zen Den, I meant to figure out when that was. I want to say they started it a few years ago. But that gets used, so they sign in, so we kind of know the data there. And then if you look at the counselors, oh my gosh, the counselors are meeting with that many different meetings, 2,755, and their job is only going to get worse with the amount of data that they need to collect for students to graduate. So we really have to do a good job in supporting our counselors, both with time and hopefully with some technology. We've got to take care of our counselors. It's kind of ironic. They're the ones that take care of the kids. We got to look at some better ways to take care of our counselors because their job is going to probably triple here in the next couple of years. So I just mentioned in strategic planning, we're also trying to look at other options, but that's going to come more from that strategic planning. I talked about MTSS the last time. And so we had a year one where we kind of made a plan a little bit more clear on how to get to the process of MTSS. And then we have reviewed that this spring, and we are refining it for then the next year, which is the whole part of the process, is to help us be a little bit more efficient, be better, and serve students in a better way. I mentioned before that we had teachers really at the center. I keep saying it, the best professional development is in the building. So February 14th, we had concurrent sessions all led by teachers. One of those sessions was about MTSS. And then we are following up more with PD this month. And I can explain, I have another slide which will talk about that. And then, like I said, we'll have a new plan to be revised for the 25-26 year. So I think we're doing really good things with that, and we're also doing it, when I say kind of in the right way, we have steps before we get to MTSS, and then we have the steps when we are in MTSS. The steps before, I think, were key to have. And then, again, goal number 2, so in red is me adding, since the last time I presented. We have a lot of fun. And I think that's really important. And I can't remember which administrator it is, says, like, you know, sometimes the students remember the fun stuff more than they remember the academic stuff. I think actually one of the Wall of Pride members, I was talking to him during lunch, and they went on a trip to, let's say, to Washington, D.C. or somewhere. Maybe it was Chicago, to go visit a museum. He said, I don't remember anything about the museum. I remember the trip up. and the trip back. And it was so much fun. And that's my memory. And so I think it is really important to have fun. So everywhere I've been for Halloween, I dress up. And thankfully, I have a partner in crime, and she jumped on board. And so a lot of the staff, we dressed up, and there's already plans as to what the theme's going to be next year.
I think we're going to need pictures.
There are pictures. Absolutely. Thank you. I just think it's a lot of fun. We had food each week in those dark days from January until spring break. So we had food brought in or food trucks. Those are the best inventions ever, right? The Hidden Spirit Week, that was Libby Sheffield and Shelby Johnson. That was a real big hoot. That stopped at spring break. And to let you know how successful it is, when the students are coming up, we did it on Thursdays, when the students are coming up on Thursdays after spring break and they're like, why aren't you all dressed up anymore? I know. Hey, too much of a good thing. So we got to keep them hooked, right? And then we always, on our PD days, the two that we've had, we always will have lunch with some games. Just kind of reset the mind. I think the teachers have really enjoyed that. I think it's also because we give really good gifts. So building that junior high identity, I've already talked a little bit about that. We had a talent show. I don't want to say it's the first one. I'm new, right? But it's the first one they've done in a while, in a bit. And that was a huge success. If you have any junior high students, hopefully they came home and talked about it. That was first semester at the end of finals. And then there are already plans to do the field day on the last day of school. And I think we've got some really good ideas for that. Button bingo, I could talk at length about what that is, but basically it is buttons from the teachers as a kind of a reward, and then we call them out. And then if you have a combination of buttons, as you're accumulating more and more buttons, or you can use them, to barter. So if somebody had like 3 buttons and was trading for this button. So really pretty cool. And then we've had different games and different activities during the junior high lunches. And lastly, that junior highness committee, that's where a lot of these ideas come from. And we have several teachers that at least have a junior high class. So there's a lot of buy-in from our entire staff in reality. Peer coaching, this one's a big one to me. I cannot wait to kind of get into 25, 26. So instructional frameworks, that would just be, we'll use kind of a Marzano model. There's 43 best practices that are out there. It's a really great way to provide focus and structure and glean things from our teachers that are already in the building. This is something that I'm in IPLI, for those of you who know that. It's Indiana Principals Leadership Institute. I'm a mentor for other principals, and I've been doing that now for 6 years as a mentor and 8 total. It's the model that they use, and it's excellent, and it can help transform schools. We don't need to be transformed. Let's make sure we understand that. But boy, we could use shots in the arm sometimes as teachers, and we could use validation from the expert across the hall who never gets to see me teach. So I'm a big believer in talk and shop, and we need those opportunities, and this helps give it a focus. So one of the things we're doing now, just to kind of springboard into next year, is we're doing a thing called Lunch and Learns, and we're doing a 6-week schedule of that. So letting some teachers have some coverage time, if you will. So let's say Daisha's going to be a teacher that wants to give some input or, share her specialities with Canvas. So she's got 5th period lunch, and come on in 4th period and 6th period and 5th period lunch. We'll get you some coverage, and you lead the teachers that want to join. And of course, we're providing lunch. So that's the way to get the teachers in there and just, again, eat lunch and learn. And so actually we have some pairs of teachers that will be doing that. So we've already had 2, right? And we got 1 more coming up, and then we have 3 of them on Canvas. So really excited about that. And then going into next year, we won't do that every Thursday, but we'll look at maybe once or twice a month. Again, a great way to just use what's in the building. We can bring in some outside people. That's great. We did that for the I just lost it. Help me out. What was the handle with care, correct? I keep looking at my teachers. We had the officer come in from handle with care to kind of get us up to speed there. So that's what those bullets are. And then those 43 things that I'm talking about will actually connect with the MTSS pillars. These are tier 1 best practices. And so the more we do that as teachers and as a building, the less that we will have to continue in the MTSS process. We'll start to take care of kids just in the classroom, just with general practices. So we've been really trying to focus on what are our pillars, what are our consistent things that we want out of tier 1. Sorry to get into the weeds there with MTSS, but that's something we've attempted to do this year, and it'll connect into that framework next year. There I am talking about it, instructional rounds. So let's skip down to the new diplomas, and then let's go ahead and take a break. So where to begin? We continue to have a lot of changes. We are ready for it. There was a quick little note from Governor Braun about 2 weeks ago that no one was ready for, where if you get a certain seal for the new diplomas, that we could get into all the public Indiana colleges. And that's accurate, not accurate. You can look at Mrs. Sheffield's email there. I sent it to the juniors. So if you read the fine print, like Purdue will say, well, you still have to meet our requirements. And they didn't really say that it may not be Purdue West Lafayette. It could be another Purdue school. So we are really trying to handle all the curveballs that are getting thrown at us. The new courses, you've probably heard me talk about PCC, and so it's preparing for college and careers. We have that on the books. We have teachers that can teach that. Personal finance, we have it on the books. We have teachers that can teach that. Computers, same thing. One of the newer things that has come out is if you have a teaching license, you can teach those. All of them. Yeah. You know what? When the state gives you things, then they get to change the rules. So anybody with a teaching degree can teach that. I'm not saying that that's awesome. Yes.
So anybody with any teaching degree whatsoever can teach the now required computer science course?
Yes, the basic one. Not all computer science courses, but yes. I make up the rules. So what we will do is we will still have the best people we can teaching this. Computers, I think we're okay, to be honest. We have a lot of those already on the books. Personal finance, not as many, and not as many as the PCC. So we have excellent teachers that do them already. We have really good curriculum with them. We already have that in Canvas. And so again, we will rely on our experts in the building as those classes those sections may need to grow, but we have them. So we're okay. Yes. Boy, I'm really hitting stuff if I'm getting questions in the middle. Keep going.
Is there a standard curriculum? Is it canned curriculum and what they're supposed to teach? Or are these teachers who could be certified in any way also supposed to be writing the curriculum and course materials?
No, we're not going to do that. So
okay.
You can get canned curriculum, and there's more and more and more of that. But we've got, for example, Amanda Hart teaches PCC, and she's got a wonderful curriculum that she's developed. It's tried and true, and it's there on Canvas. So if Chad Rogers all of a sudden had to do it as a chemistry major, and I would be a fish out of water, I would rely on her, expert in the building, and then her curriculum to help me get through. And then I would get myself up to speed because I'm a professional. So does that make sense? Yep. Again, it's sometimes a whole new world. One of the things that we'll look at starting, I'm going to talk with my staff about this soon, although we've thrown it out there some, are the hybrid courses. That's my terminology. So let's say, for example, a communication-focused course. What does that mean? Well, speech, debate, but there are other ways to maybe embed communication-focused standards into other courses. And so we are allowed to submit that to the state as a way to kind of get a 2-for-1, for example. Okay? So there's a lot of ways that you can do that. And this is, again, How creative can you be? Is that something we want to do, not want to do? So we will look at those possibilities. And again, I've seen one where Mr. Jost teaches the government class where they have the contest for the Constitution. We the People contest. And, the idea, it is not Mr. Smith's speech class or debate class. But is there a lot of communication-focused standards that are going into that process for those kids? I would argue yes. So it's not my argument, it's we present that to the state, and the state says, yeah, this is a really good idea, or no, you cannot. So I'm just using that as an example because it's fresh in my mind, but there are many out there within the state, and I think that just like the way we entered into the pathways 7 years ago, we were all pretty much, we don't know what we're doing, and here's how we're doing this, and it has evolved. So many of you may know, like, there's lots of locally created pathways that are out there now, and School A creates a pathway, we can all use it. I think this is going to be the same thing. School A is going to figure out an idea, maybe to do a 2-for-1, and we might have the option to do that. And it may not be what we want to do. So the first step is go to the lab, come up with some ideas, and then it will be, we'll keep it in the building. Do we like this? Do we not like this? What do we think? And then you guys have to sign off before we can send it to the state. There's actually, and this process has been around for a long time. We just haven't really used it a whole lot, but now this is becoming on the forefront. Yeah, front and center.
Does the possibility exist for you to couple courses, meaning if, half of the standards are in each place, you can require both be taken?
Require both people, there's all, yes.
Can they be partnered in that way?
Yes,
So
they
a student,
can,
okay.
right. So, I know that some schools are doing PE and health as a combo type thing, and they're embedding health standards in what they're doing in the PE lessons, or they're doing health on Mondays and then doing the PE the rest of the week. And they're taking those 2 semester courses and then putting them in 1 semester, as long as you're covering the standards. Not necessarily what we want to do at West Lafayette, but that's an example of something. So I need to be really clear. Just because I'm talking about ideas that are out there does not mean we're doing that. And I say that to my staff as well. So the last one, work-based learning, that's all over the seals as well, especially when you get into the seal pluses that are on the bottom. Right now, we have a grant with Career Plus, and so they might be our way to do that, provide the instructor and then the content and then connect with those businesses. That makes it a lot easier for us. If not, what's a plan B? Any teacher can do work-based learning. Thank you, state. This is not the ideal model, but it can be, and work-based learning got very, very flexible with students. It used to be kind of a gold standard in how it's done, and now if you have a job, as long as we can create a partnership with that business, it's basically the business, principal, parent, kid, and then they can log those hours. But with the amount of hours they're requiring of kids, it needed to be flexible. And so it is, but it is not the old way of doing work-based learning that required a teacher with a CTE degree. Sorry, I know that's in the weeds there. Okay, some highlights real quickly. Joel had mentioned that I would get to, this is now the winter sports. So in the first one, I did the fall, so winter, and I could barely cram all the pictures in there. So another successful season for our athletes. And I just think that it's tremendous to know this, that if you go into like the 3, to me, kind of the 3 things that are huge for all of our high school kids, and the amount of kids he showed in the 800, was it 800, Joel? Is that right, or is he gone? 750? So it's a lot of, or how many athletes did you have in the bar graph? I was trying to remember. Okay. So if you look at the amount of kids there, the amount of kids in our fine arts, the amount of academics that we do in our SAT scores and AP scores, they're great all the way across the board. And I like to say that we are big school opportunities in a small school feel. And I think it's so important. And so this highlights a lot of what our kids are doing in the academic arena. And then we go to the fine arts arena, and you can see what those kids are doing there, band and choir and orchestra, performing arts. And then I just wanted to highlight, there's some really good pictures of the musical Newsies. And I know I should have seen that when I was a kid, but for whatever reason, I missed that Disney movie. So when we went to the musical that week, Sunday morning, I had some coffee and I watched it on Disney Plus. And yes, it was. And I think that's it, I believe. So questions, although we had a lot already. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. It's really nice. And I also heard a lot of positive changes from community, also from parents for our high school. So I really
like it when you speak.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Just quick question regarding you goal number 1. You're saying we have better support for mental health. Would you mind to just give us a little bit of overview of our current situation, why these kind of number 1 goals, that kind of thing?
Okay, so ask that last part of the question. So goal number 1 about mental health, and then what was the part there? What was your question?
Oh, the current situation of our students' mental health, why we have put this number 1. What's the rationale behind this kind of rank number 1?
Oh, okay. So I kind of get an out on this one. These were goals that were put in place before I arrived. So
okay.
This is our goal from prior to me, and so I am giving you the information or the data that we are using to support that goal. That's the best. So I think coming out of COVID, I think it's been a big priority for a lot of schools, to be honest. And I think that from what I can gather, just kind of when I say hearsay, it's more of like this has been an issue out of COVID, and then the stress of the academics. I know that in strategic planning, I know that that's been an issue both from students, parents, and staff. The focus on, and again, it's this double-edged sword. So we want to take AP classes, and we want to go to these colleges, and we want to take all these courses and not take a study hall. But boy, it's taxing on the kids, right? And the kids feel it, and the parents see it, and the staff sees it. So I think between COVID and what I just said there is probably why that's a big goal.
Okay.
Does that help? Did I answer your question? Okay.
That's helped. Another question regarding the first page. I saw there's our overall special education. We have 7.76%. Yeah, our school corporation, I just checked, around 10%.
Okay.
And if you look at state average level, is kind of 15 to 19, depends on, whether or not what kind of school you calculate, something like that.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering, do you know how any possible reasons behind these lower numbers?
No, I think we changed by like 3 numbers, if I remember. I think we were like 85 and we're at 88 now. I don't have the previous one. So no, I don't. I think that we are a bubble district. It's hard to get in here. So I don't know that we really are going to fluctuate a whole heck of a lot. That would be just my statement about any of it, really. But
Yeah, the last question I have is regarding the coaching things, the peer coaching. That's the
Okay.
first time I try to learn that. So that's kind of for personalized professional development for our teachers and staffs. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
okay, so I'm trying to find it. Where are we at? Right, where's that?
You were on it.
Right over there, yeah.
Bottom.
Yeah, okay. So it's not that we're hiring an instructional coach. So this would be more of, again, we're going to learn from each other. So then when I said it's just started, so we just started that in February, so I talked about it in the fall presentation, and so these are some of the things that we did as we're, again, just getting started. And then when I talked about the framework and the rounds, that's where I have the vision of teachers that would like to work through this Marzano process and actually go and, when I say observe each other, this is not a part of an evaluative process.
Yeah, I understand.
It's just, okay, on this thing, let's say checking for understanding, or when you want to do group work or whatever it might be, I want to go, let's go watch you do your thing, and then you'll have time to then talk about that. So there's a lot of power in, one, seeing it done, right? And two, when I'm like, okay, what were you doing there? I'd love to know more about that.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I just validated you as an educator.
Okay.
And so when I'm an educator validating you, I'm like, this is amazing. Tell me more. There's a lot of power in that. So that's what I'd like to be doing next year with whoever wants to do it. So it might be a small group, which is totally fine.
Okay.
Start small.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, you say how lunch and learning. I mean, for the teachers, I'll never be a teacher, but when I used to work in a company, I mean, the lunch breaks kind of, you have the whole day and then you have a break in the middle.
Sure.
Do you think our teacher will kind of handle, I mean, this kind of actual, time to learning? Learning is kind of intensive engagement.
Sure.
So I'm just wondering, our teacher.
Do they need a break?
Yeah, so far.
So it's voluntary.
Okay.
So they don't have to show up, no judgment at all. But if they would like to, and it's actually been pretty well attended, so we'll see.
Okay.
And again, if you want to stay in your room or stay with your colleagues and talk about the ball game or the play, please have at it. It's totally fine. If you'd like to come on this topic, so we have 6 different topics and those are laid out. Show up to 1, show up to 6, show up to 2, doesn't really matter. So I think the fact that they have choice will always help out. And I think you're right. Like, maybe you do need a break. And that's totally fine.
Okay.
You just can't have the food. No.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Yui, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's super impressive. And besides, all the academic excellence or other excellence in fine arts, sports, everything, I'm very impressed by the 2 goals that you are trying achieving. In fact, for the second one, for the first one, actually, the mental health issue has been a concern for the high school, and it's great that you make the goal 1 and to actively address that issue. As for the second one, actually, I came from China originally. I have been in the educational field and working in the educational field for many years, and I have been wondering about the difference between the Chinese system, American system. In American, teachers have their own classroom. They close their doors. They do their own thing. But in China, actually, the teachers teaching the same subjects, sitting in the same office. They constantly compare notes and share strategies, all that thing. So I feel what you are doing right now is a nice balance to encourage those collaboration, communication, to peer learning, and I think it's great. And if I'm a teacher, I will enjoy learning from others and share what I feel may be helpful for others. And so thank you for doing that. So maybe I totally missed it, but I wonder whether the high school right now has a Facebook. Before, I know we have a parent council Facebook, but before Alice, it was not quite active.
Okay.
And Willis has a one which they share a lot of what's going on in school, like almost daily. And for example, we talk about the Halloween costume, and there are so many fun activities. I wish I'm in that building. And so I wonder, in what way it's shared with the community so parents know what's going on in the school.
So we're still in our fledgling stages. Honestly, since we've transitioned. So we have a school Twitter page that we needed to start over, so it doesn't have a huge following, and we've got about 3 or 4 people that can access it. So we've tried to follow the district and so on and so forth to hopefully grow that. We have I believe that the secretaries manage a Facebook page, but I'll check into that because I've gotten confused back and forth. We've done a really good job on our website and on our calendar, but social media really that I know of is Twitter. That X, but that's what we have that's going out more than anything. So
Okay, I need to follow that.
yes,
But
please do. And I'm on there. I have one as well. If you follow me, there'll be still probably way more Purdue stuff than there is anything else. But I heard laughter. But I get on and I retweet, right, or I like, and I try to pass on as much as I can of our West Lafayette stuff. And so we're still growing. That is a true answer. We're still trying to grow our social media footprint.
Okay, another related question is, for those achievements, and I have been wondering whether our district or maybe each school have some sort of system for people to contribute good news.
Keep going.
Yeah, because I feel, there's some of the, for example, clubs, sports may have their own Twitter account or something. It would be easy for you to retweet, right? But some others, for example, debate team or chess club or math counts, for example, the actually one of the students this time made it to the nation and to be compete for math count. I think it's a 8th grader or something.
Okay.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily have their account, so their good news might not be seen. Also, earlier we talked about some other achievements, different, so for students.
I wouldn't have known about orienteering
yeah.
unless I had a teacher send it to me.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So I feel it might be, I know everything is transitioning, so I'm just brainstorming and not like, so I feel it would be helpful to have some sort of system or maybe a form for people to fill, and if they want to share news or, the information or who is a sponsor teacher, or if you have any picture to attach, or is a national level, state level, or whatever, good news, and submit that form to a central person. That person can verify the news with a sponsor teacher or something, then release it.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think a way.
Stay tuned.
Right.
I love where your head is.
To
I love it. Yes.
Because I heard some people sometimes complain, how comes, certain achievement is not celebrated? But I feel maybe they just don't know.
We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
You're exactly right. So if anybody is complaining, give them my email. And then I will get anything out that I can. I can remember this. This is true. I know I'm taking way too long. I'm so sorry. So I was a middle school principal, and we would only put in the announcements the stuff that was like school-sanctioned sports and school-sanctioned basically events, and that was it. I'm like, why? So we went completely the other way around when I got there. Like, give me anything. I don't care. Give me the horse show. Give me whatever. Give me the FFAs. Give it to me. It takes 10 seconds to celebrate a kid. So you're exactly right. I have some brainstorming on, is there an easier way for them to access, right, and promote their kid or their club? But in the meantime, if they are wanting something out there, give them my email, and we can get it taken care of. I promise.
Thank you.
But yeah, we don't know what we don't know, and I don't know a lot.
Thank you. But may I make one more?
Yes.
So I went to the World of Pride and events both last week, and I remember your comments following their speech was, wow. I totally echo that. I was so impressed. Every year, basically, every year I went to their speeches. I was so impressed by what they have done and what they shared with the students. And also, every year, I have a feeling, I wish more students can be here to listen to this. And because this is such a inspiring speeches, right? And students can learn from them. And also the one we several of colleagues mentioned this, some of the students say when they were in school, they were not the good students.
Okay.
But later on, they learn a lot from our high school and lifelong learner, and also a good spirit of pursuing excellence in different ways. And so I think those stories are so inspiring. I really, really wish more kids can be there. But I heard only first junior and seniors can be there, and also only for like 1 hour or something because of their other course schedule. I wonder by any chance, and students and teachers can have the free time to go there. That's one thing, to listen to those talks, as many as possible, fill up that room. Second is it possible for the future to video recording those talks and share that on our channel, like a district channel, so more kids in the younger ones, whoever, or parents, even the community members, they can see how their tax money are used for, right? So I think those are very encouraging stories. Another way can be, the talk, the scripts that they prepared, maybe can be shared as well for people to read. And I just feel those stories are so inspiring. I really wish every single case can listen to that or read that and to learn from them. And so that's just...
Well, I'm glad that you're fired up about it. That's good. Brandon behind you is nodding his head, so we can do some technology stuff. Just real quickly on the day, just so that you know. So they have, the honorees have third, fourth, fifth, sixth, so 3 different hours plus an activity period where they go. So kids can see really all of them potentially if they wanted to, but they go into different classrooms. If there's really someone I want to see, I could get permission to get out. And then there's that common one where we packed in the library for Brian, for him. So they can get to them a little bit more than you might think. Now, the juniors and seniors have more flexibility, and I think you're right. I think it's that delicate balance of, is it too much of a good thing? So if I see them as a freshman, am I now not as interested as a junior and senior? I don't know the answer. It's just those options. So good ideas. I think we can make it where it's more accessible to anybody. I know that we recorded this one. We didn't live stream it, but we recorded it. And I don't know how good it was, to be honest, but we did do that. And there are some things that we can do where it might be more accessible for those who are not in the actual auditorium live. Great stuff.
Thank you.
I just want to throw a little bit of a caveat. The alumni are coming back, and part of what works about that day historically is the personal connection that they can make with students. And so ultimately, that's a collaboration between the WLSCF and the administrators. And if we overproduce the day, we may lose some of the benefit of it. So I would just throw that caveat out there. Some people do this for a living as well, so they might not be open to the idea of some of what it is, but it is a great day. I 100% agree. The other thing I just wanted to tell my fellow board members, not a question for you, Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
A couple of times tonight has been brought up in our work session, as well as in this conversation looking in data. We did receive a presentation by the Director of Special Education, Stephanie Quaglio, on 11/11 in our board packets. You might want to refer to that for some data that she shared with us about special ed district-wide. And also, I was interested in, Dr. Reiner, in the difference between Mr. Rogers' number and the overall number per grade level. And I wondered if you might ask Mrs. Quaglio the next time she is back, if she could also break that out by school. Her data doesn't break out by school, but I'm sure she has it. And that would be a really nice upgrade to the information that we have in our packet.
Yes, we can absolutely do that, Mrs. Witt.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just real quickly, since it was brought up, on social media, Do you have any plans to engage in some other alternative forms of social media outside of X and Facebook? Because X and Facebook have grown increasingly toxic over the last couple of years.
Did you have anything in mind?
Well, there is a new service called Blue Sky that has much better moderation tools.
Okay.
And so people can sign up for Blue Sky without getting bombarded by Nazi talk, just for example.
Okay. No, I wasn't aware of that one. So I think that as social media platforms evolve as they've been doing, I've been one that would like to catch up with. I know that I had 3 at one school where I had to have Facebook for the parents, Twitter for kind of like updating events because they happen live, and then Instagram because that's where the kids were. Now, that was a while ago. Kids aren't on Instagram anymore. And I'm not going to do Snapchat, but I know, but you try to go where your audience is. And so that's interesting. I'd look into that. So anybody else?
No. What?
Kind of related to that, I wonder whether there's any, it's a technical question. I don't know who has the answer to it, whether there might be some hub where you submit one post, it can go the Sky, Blue Sky, or Facebook, or Twitter, or some other thing. So it won't be too much work for the school to share it everywhere.
Yes and no. So Twitter, back when it was still called Twitter, had a lot of tools that were available for people to run multiple Twitter accounts at once, to send messages out to different services. Blue Sky is effectively a Twitter clone. It's just run by a nonprofit that's dedicated to not turning it into what Twitter has become. So they effectively function the same way.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Next up is item number 2, believe it or not, communication for the audience, and Harris Stute has signed up. You didn't? Oh, I'm sorry. That was for the work session. I don't have the blue one. I'm so sorry. No, you're fine. You're fine. It's empty? Okay, great. I'm sorry. That is blank. Thank you very much. Okay. The next item is the consent agenda.
I make a motion. Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you,
I'll second.
Rachel. Thank you, George. There's no commentary on this one, so all those in favor of finding the button on the thing there, please indicate on your buttons. Great. Thank you very much. Moving on, there's no unfinished business. Stop there. Okay, no unfinished business. So we'll move on to new business. And the first item is the approval of the minutes of the February 10th work session. There was some discussion about these, so we pulled them out of the consent agenda. So since that's on the table, I need someone to make a motion. David?
I make a motion to
Okay.
approve this February 10th working session meeting minutes.
Okay, motion to approve from Lawrence. Is there a second?
second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion?
Just a quick share. I think it's a very good move for our have these working sessions meeting minutes with the highlight of information summary for what we are doing. So that's really good. And also there's some other meeting minutes. I see there's a lot of big improvement during the last couple months. So thank you for Roberta and also George for those improvements. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm glad you like the new format. Anybody else have any comments? Dr. Yu?
I totally agree. Thank you, Roberta and George, for doing this. This is awesome, and I
Great.
appreciate the summary.
I think it gives everybody the information they need. Okay. Everybody good? We'll go ahead and hit the button to vote to approve as Lawrence moved. There we go. Super. That motion carries. We're going to hit the buttons. The next item is the approval of the minutes of the February 10th regular board meeting. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Thank you. To do what, Rachel?
To approve the minutes.
Thank you.
I can second.
Thank you, Lawrence. All right, is there any comments? Daisha?
Yes, I don't know with this process how you'd like it handled, but the revision, I submitted the revision to include the topic that community members share. So do I make a motion to amend, or how is the best way to handle that?
I think on those, we had an alteration document that is included as 06B in the minutes. So I think what you would move to do is include, is that a motion to include 6B in the regular board minutes for February 10th? Would that make sense?
Okay, I make a motion to include 6B in the minutes.
Okay. Is there a second to include 6B?
I second it.
Okay. So first, we're going to have discussion about including 6B. Rachel?
We've had this conversation many times over the years. I do not support a summary of speakers in minutes. We open up a little bit of a ugly situation in which we are trying to draw down the topic and the tone of a speaker when we do not have the ability to let them edit that same thing. And so I think there's a large exposure to misrepresent, missummarize, maybe capture something that was not a priority for them, but we felt it was a priority and put it in there. I think that it makes perfect sense to allow patrons who come and stand in front of us to speak, to have a timestamp so that anybody in the community can go and hear what they have to say from their mouth. For example, on this edit, there is subjective interpretation on here, the words concerns and the word support. They are classifying the nature of the conversation, and that makes this inappropriate for a minute documentation.
Thank you. Yui?
Yeah, I can understand what Rachel says. Yeah, we may run into the risk of misunderstanding or missummarizing. And I will propose like a midway suggestion. We can, for example, just have a topic rather than a summary. And for example, this one can be State Bill 1 and the DEI initiative, or something kind of neutral. It doesn't say this person supported or disagree with it. And as for what exactly this person said, watch the video. Mm-hmm. So just to give or some other time it can be bully or very simple, just a keyword sort of thing. I will suggest that. That way we don't take the risk of mis-summarizing what they said.
Okay.
But give people, because people choose to make a public comments, and I will assume typically out of intention of drawing attention to the issue that they care about. I hope we can give them a little bit kind of highlight for what they care about, and but don't summarize what they said.
Okay. Rachel?
I appreciate that. I would say if we were going to do that, the only word that I would put in there would be legislative matters. I think if you you risk having a chilling effect. I understand wanting to promote their motion or their topic, but if we misstate what was more important or less important to them, I think that is a risk. I do think that it has a chilling effect when people, and I've definitely heard that from patrons over the years, they don't necessarily want us to interpret what they have to say. Giving them a platform in which somebody could go to our meeting and hear for themselves what they have to say, much more powerful than our summarizing it. But I could live with a true topic of legislative matter or educational matter or extracurricular matter. I think that very broad category I could live with that.
Daisha?
I'd like to amend my motion.
Okay.
That this says legislative matter.
Okay,
The
so,
message that I've tried to make is that the topic should be included. And so I think she gave a great suggestion, and so it could be amended to say legislative matter.
okay, so are you willing to then rescind your previous motion to
Yes.
include 6B? And, okay, great, and then we'll make a motion to amend 6B to the topic legislative matters.
I rescind my previous motion, and after the suggestion, I make a motion to accept 6B and have the topic wording state legislative matter.
Is there a second? David?
I can second for that amendment.
Okay, I think I saw David's hand first, so we'll go ahead and leave that as it was for the sake of those of us writing things down. I'm going to put a note in box itself so that we don't lose track of it all, and just put legislative matters in there and hit post. All right. So right now we are voting on the amendment of 6B to strike the words concerns regarding Senate Bill 1 and support for DEI initiatives, and instead say the topic is legislative matters. So here's the vote button. Okay, so that's 6-2-1. Okay, and then we will return now to the previous, I can't talk and hit buttons at the same time. All right, now we're returning to the previous motion in which Rachel moved and Lawrence seconded to approve the minutes, but we have amended 6B into the minutes to include the topic legislative matters. Everybody good? Great. Any other discussion? Yui?
It's just, I noticed that George voted no. I wonder whether George wants to share your concern on this issue. I mean,
Sure, and I also want to make sure that
because it happened very fast. I
also want to
wonder
make sure
whether-
we're on the right track, because what you just said was we voted to amend that addition. Did we actually vote to put the addition into the minutes?
We,
It
did
was
we?
combined, the motion was to accept 6B with the modified language of legislative topic, or whatever the language was. So that has been added into the minutes that we are now going to vote on. So we don't have another step before voting on the minutes.
All right, well, in either case, I would have and still would have voted no, because I just don't think it's our place to say what a member of the public said, particularly when we're offering the exact time in the live stream where anyone can go and look and see what the person said. Because, even though we are representatives of the public, we don't get to put words in the public's mouth.
I hear you. Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments? Lawrence?
Just quick comments regarding these regular meeting minutes. You will have so many more informations add on this meeting minutes, and also this time include the link of the live stream
Yes.
and also link of the documents.
Right.
So, and the very clear format, the table format, I really like that. And also our team, the school board, we have very smooth protocols work together to update the meeting minutes before the meeting. So I really appreciate that we work together and make these meeting minutes. And also during this last the discussion, we approved the meeting minutes. Everything is so big positive moves. That means we board member can work together and make some progress and deliver a reliable and very good high quality meeting minutes. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the vote to approve the February 10th regular board meeting minutes as amended with the term legislative matters under topic. There we go. Okay. Let me just make a note. Okay, Thank you. We're going to go ahead and hit buttons now. Great. Okay. The next item is the approval of the March 10th work session meeting minutes. David,
Make a motion to approve the March 10th work session minutes.
thank you. Is there a second?
Yeah, I will second for this
Okay.
motion.
Any discussion? Yui,
We may add the video link to it.
I'm sorry?
Add the video link to the minutes.
Let me pull them up. March 10th. Work session. Is the video link not,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, and actually also for the February one. It's not big deal, but it'd be helpful to kind of make it convenient for people to click directly.
okay, so is that a motion to amend the work session, March work session minutes to include the video link?
Yeah, I
Okay.
move to add that link to the work session, actually for the February 10th as well.
Well,
It's we passed it.
so.
Yeah, we put, yeah. I just noticed that it's in the regular one, but not in the work session.
I see. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't know how to go backwards, so we're going to carry on and hope that people can figure out where the videos live. Is there a second to amend? Rachel? Thank you. Any discussion about adding the link? All those in, oh, I gotta hit button. There we go. All those in favor of adding the link? Okay, 7. Next, we'll return to the previous motion, which was to approve the minutes of the March 10th work session as amended. Any discussion? Great. Yes, Rachel. Oh, okay. Great. I am hitting buttons. Let's button there. Okay. Moving, approving. That's everybody. Great. All right. One more time. I need a motion regarding number 8, the approval of the minutes of the March 10th regular board meeting. Is there a link on those?
I would move to approve the minutes for March 10th regular board meeting minutes.
Okay. Is there a second? Rachel? Does the link exist in that one? Okay. I'm going to hit buttons while you do that.
It does, but so that one has the revision that had been requested. So I'm not sure how I'm supposed to handle that, as well as my understanding is Mr. George had said that he would make changes to make the vote accurate. Those changes have still not been included. And so I'm not sure. I had sent a couple of emails about that. How would you like me to proceed with those two?
I think you would therefore amend the.
First, do one at a time?
Yes.
Can we clarify something first?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by they're not accurate?
So they're on the section under the football lighting. It still says the original was approved, and
It says the original was not approved.
then underneath it, it says original. So I had sent the text to how to
No, I
clarify
mean,
that.
in the one I'm looking at, it says the original motion was not approved.
Right, and then go right underneath it where it says 7-7, and then it lists the names. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. And then it says original, sorry, I'm trying to get to that section of the exact minutes.
It's a regular board meeting draft. It was updated today.
Oh, yeah. there's
So
the-
you see it
the
lists all the
original
names,
approved.
and it says original. So I had sent the email and shared how that original needs to be removed, and it needs to say the amendment to the motion was approved.
Are you on page 6 in the vote that's at the bottom,
The bottom, page 6, yes, I think.
at the timestamp 1:12:36?
Yes.
What I'm looking at says the original motion was not approved, and it needs to say no. Is that
Correct. So
correct?
what I had emailed says it should be saying what we're approving. The amendment to the motion was approved. And then on the line where it says yes, we shouldn't have original in there because it was not original. And so both of those things, my understanding is George said, great, but then they haven't been changed.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, we're just having a weird moment where we're going in the same direction but in different cars. Because it says the original motion was not approved, and then underneath it says the amended motion was approved and passed. Is that not accurate enough?
So there's two separate votes. There was a vote that we voted 7-7 to make an amendment to the motion. So that was one vote. The second vote is accurate that says the amended motion was approved and passed. So they're two separate votes.
So since we're only supposed to record actions of the board, can we just delete the line that says the original motion was not approved and record that the amended motion was approved and passed?
So actually, the comment about only final actions is not in Indiana code. That's just comments that have been said. Indiana code says that a record of all votes taken have to be included.
Rachel?
Which is in the video, right?
Mrs. Austin, we have spent an extraordinary amount of time on minutes at this meeting, and we have still really important conversations to have as we get on down this agenda. I would just ask my fellow board members to consider if this is the way that we should spend our time. As Mr. Lyle has indicated, the entire meeting is linked. If anybody had a question about any of the exact wording of these votes, they could easily see it for themselves. I just like us to take a vote and move on off of minutes.
Is that calling the question?
Sure, I'll call the question.
Okay, that requires a vote of 5. So we're going to start the vote to call the question. That means we stop talking about it and we just go ahead and vote on the minutes that are.
Oh, is
before
it
us.
possible to postpone it? To postpone the vote?
Not yet. Not yet. Right now, we're voting on whether or not we are going to call the question and vote on the minutes that are in the thing. If that doesn't pass, then you can move to table.
Okay. Another thing is there's a amendment to the revision to the minutes for the
I think this supersedes that. So,
community members' comments.
right, we haven't even gotten to that yet. This supersedes it and says we're just going to vote on the minutes because we spent enough time on minutes and we're going to move on with life. So that's what we're voting on right now. Okay? Thanks. Okay. Did someone, there we go. Okay, great. That, let me write that down. Okay. Thank you. So we have called the question. We are going to go ahead and vote on the minutes that are before us now. This is to approve the minutes as presented in the packet.
Sorry, there's a revision, right? So for the
This
public
supersedes
comments.
that. So we're just voting on them as they're presented in 08 regular board minutes, 3/10/25 draft.
We don't change the, I'm kind
Call
of
the question
confused.
just stops it.
Yeah.
Says
So
let's
not
move on.
even that revision for the public comments? So we will, that means what we are voting is, okay, we don't include the topic of the public
Correct.
comments?
But the timestamp is there to the video where someone could see for themselves what that person spoke about.
Will that be a practice in the future? We don't, because earlier when we vote on the February one, we decided to do a topic summary, not the content summary. And this kind of similar thing for the March meeting. And I trying to figure out, it's not only for the 1 minute and for the future, will we
Correct.
do a brief summary or we?
That would be up to
don't-
the secretary. And he'll make a decision and we'll see in the next month's board packet whether or not that is done. Go ahead, George.
Just for future planning, since the board did vote to include topics on that set of minutes, I'll go ahead and include them for the rest. Because, there's no sense in going against what the board voted, because that's what we do, right?
Okay, I appreciate the clarification. Then for this particular one, we cannot add the Robert's rule as the topic of the
Correct,
public
because we
comments.
called the question.
So that means no change can be
Correct.
made to it.
Yep.
Okay, then, okay. Thank you for the clarification. That's
welcome.
helpful.
Just know that going forward, it will be in there.
Okay, yeah, that's also very helpful. I appreciate the clarity.
David? What?
I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. But what happens now?
It doesn't pass.
It does not pass. Okay.
Call the question,
Cool.
didn't pass.
Okay. Wow. Jeez, guys. This is so much to keep track of. I've run out of paper.
It's like an episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Can we postpone it?
Well, we are back at the point where we have no motion regarding number 8, which is to the minutes of the March 10th regular board meetings. So I will entertain any motion regarding those. George?
All right, how about this? I move to approve the March 10 regular meeting minutes, including the topic by the speaker, but leaving, excuse me, the voting record as it was in the original document.
Is that clear to everyone? Is there a second? Rachel? Rachel seconds, okay.
So in effect, what we're doing is we're including what you were talking about, UA, but not including any extra edits or anything about the voting record.
I have a question. Why, when I submitted this earlier so that this didn't have to happen in this meeting, did you say you were good with it and going to make the change and now have changed your mind, which has now made this a long conversation that could have been solved before the meeting?
It's not about changing any minds. I thought I put on there what you asked, but perhaps.
Right, and then I emailed back and said, this is the way it should be, and you, great. So I just think if we do this ahead of time and have it very clear on the paper, this saves this whole discussion instead of having the confusion.
Okay, anybody else have any comments about the minutes and the motion that George has made to approve them, including the topic for the public speaking part? You.
Just quick. Oh, go ahead.
Honestly, I was kind of confused by the wordings. So
Okay.
I would I don't want to waste everybody's time. Actually, that's why I feel I would like to postpone this vote
So
to next
you would move
month.
to table?
Move to table it, exactly. So to sort it out. And I wasn't very sure what George wants to do, what Deja wants to do, and the difference, everything. So for the public comments part, I appreciate that you will add it, and I am happy with that. But for the other votes one, I'm frankly confused by the two wordings, and I would like to have more time to figure it out. Again, I don't want to spend more time discussing this issue.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, I will second table this meeting minutes things for next meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Is there any discussion about tabling? All right, we'll go ahead and start the vote to table. Let's take a recess. We're going to recess for 5 minutes, and we will be back. Can I see Daisha and George? at 7:50. I appreciate everyone's patience, and for the sake of expedience and clarity, I'm going to read the current motion. We are moving to approve the March 10th regular board meeting minutes with the amendment to specify that the warranty be included, be approved as a part of those minutes. That was what we voted on. We're going to add the language that the warranty is included, comma, was approved. That is the motion by me. Is there a second? Rachel, thank you. Is there any discussion? Dave?
You also need to add in 7B, is it? Right?
There.
Let me find the page.
The Robert rule.
Yeah, just so we're consistent.
Where are you? Oh, okay, sure. We'll add that in there too, plus Robert's rules in the. Super. Let's vote.
May I ask a quick question, just for the future? Today, before we reach to this point, we have a bunch of this or that votes. I wonder, in the minutes for this month, will we record all that, or we will only record the final one?
Well, there had been some previous discussion, and I thought that there was some agreement that we were only going to record final votes. It sounds like for some of us that may not be desired. I will note that if you look at the live stream, the video of the votes is on every single vote. But I am open to suggestions about how we record votes.
Rachel?
The minutes under conversation right now are 13, 14 pages long. I don't see a need to make them any longer to record votes that don't have anything, but I also don't see the need for us to continue to talk about minutes tonight. We still have literally the whole bulk of our business to get through on this agenda.
I agree with what George suggested, just to record the final one. I ask this for clarification purpose, because I feel, in the future, I hope we can make the process fast.
We're going to be having a discussion after the meeting between George and I and interested parties. So if you would like to make a suggestion at that time, we would be happy to hear.
Yeah, I think it's a good solution. We have the final minutes and the final vote. And as for how we get there, I don't think it's necessary. It will take a lot of Robert and George's time to sort out all the winding ways.
Let's move on to the West Lafayette Observatory User Agreement. Dr. Greiner, you're here. Hi. Hi, welcome. Would you like to talk?
The Wabash Valley Astronomical Society, or WVAS, requested several months ago that we enter into an agreement demonstrating our partnership. You've had that dialogue in Friday Notes. Now, we've been working with WVAS and our attorney to develop a more formal agreement, which was included in Friday Notes and is now in your packet. We'd like to request that the board approve this agreement.
Okay, is there a motion? David?
Motion to approve the agreement.
Any second?
second.
Thank you, Lawrence. Is there any discussion? Yui?
I think it's a great community collaboration and to share our great resource, and they take care of it and provide educational opportunities for students. Just one thing, since I haven't heard about this organization before, maybe I totally missed it, but I think it would be nice. I checked their website. Looks like they have all sort of events, activities, and I feel in the future, if they can send us some flyers to share with our school district for more families to participate in the events that they are organizing, it will be very helpful.
I can tell you they'll be very excited to do that because they actually do work with our principals, and they like to present when there are opportunities to do that. So example, when we had the Eclipse, that big event, they actually spoke to some of our schools. And so I think that's a great suggestion. Dr. Yen and I will absolutely pass that along as well.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
George?
I noticed in the agreement there isn't any provision on notice for WVAS to notify the school when they're coming. Is that something that you just do informally, or should that be put into the agreement?
They would only come to the school if they are invited to come to the school. As far as the facility, the observatory, they already use that for their monthly meetings, and they do that through a facility usage agreement. So what's changing here is now we're entering into an MOU, a memorandum of understanding.
And just for everyone's information, they put a sandwich board out at the corner of Benton and Cumberland on the nights that they're going to have an event, and lots of people drive by and see it. So the trouble is that in this area, a lot of astronomy happens after most elementary kids have gone to bed or it's freezing cold. Okay, let's go ahead and vote on this item. Lovely, 7 out of 7. Okay, the next item up for discussion is Mrs. Roth with the Science and Spanish curricular material adoption.
The board packet includes a recommendation reflecting the work of teachers involved in this curricular adoption. They reviewed the materials, they reviewed the parent feedback that we sought both pre-reviewing the materials and after lowering it down to 2. And they also took this into account in looking at their standards for the science materials. These are materials on the IDOE STEM approved list. So I would like to thank all teachers involved in that. This is one motion to approve the actual recommendation, and then the second, just because we can't assume that you would approve the recommendation, would be to purchase the materials. So in the packet is all of the information about the recommendation itself and the quotes for the materials purchases.
Okay. The first item is to approve the recommendation. Is that a motion?
Can I make a motion to approve the recommendation for these materials and to purchase the adopted curricular materials?
Sure. Rachel will second that. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, just one question. Can we see them? Do you happen to have them here? Okay. Because I'll still vote to approve them because I know people looked at them, but I'd love to take a look at them.
We did do, part of what we did as well was just an open opportunity where anyone who wanted to come look at them could come look at them. No one took us up on that, but we did the same process last year so that anyone who wasn't part of the review could come in and see the materials.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody else? Lawrence?
A quick question regarding these purchasings. So we go through the co-op, buy these books or the
No.
material?
It's not through a cooperative. This is from the publisher based upon which publisher and which title the committee recommends.
Okay. Do you think we need to go through the bidding process for this kind of purchase?
There's just the publisher who offers this, so that there would be one group that would bid.
Well, this is a pretty big amount of money, so we don't need to go through the bidding process. Oh.
Go ahead.
This is a standard process for textbook adoption pretty much everywhere. The state gives us an approved list, and we pick from that list. The group of teachers, community members, parents, whatever, they review all of those on the list, and then they choose from that list which ones to purchase. We're very locked in from the state with what we can choose now.
So basically, there's only one supplier or something?
Yeah,
so
we can only choose from that list. So the state basically narrows it down for us and then says, you guys pick what works best for you.
Whatever. Okay, thank
That would be for science. That would not be the case for Spanish. But again, it's the publisher who has the rights to sell you the book. So we would not find other places where we could purchase the book in this quantity unless we wanted to purchase used books, and then we'd have to purchase them across different vendors in lower quantities to reach the full amount.
Okay, got you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was a good explanation. I was just going to say you can't buy Coke from Pepsi. They have the intellectual property rights to the books. They sell it. They're the only person that we can buy it from.
Thank you. All right, I will start the vote. If there's no other discussion, we're moving to approve and purchase. Yeah, great. Look at that. Moving right along to the athletic trainer contract. Mrs. Kronk.
Our current athletic trainer contract will be coming to an end. Mr. Strode has been working on a new contract over the past several months to get the best rate possible for the school district. Our current vendor was proposing substantial increases over the next 3 years. Mr. Strode reached out to Indiana University Healthcare Associates after speaking with other local athletic directors about their contracts. IU Health's proposal will bring a significant cost savings to the district of approximately $48,000 per year. The contract does include a planned 3% increase annually over the 3-year contract period. Our attorney has reviewed the contract, and the final is included in your board packets. I ask that you please approve the IU Health contract as presented.
Thank you. Is there a
And
motion?
thank you to Joel for your hard work on this.
I would like the motion to approve athletic trainer contract proposal.
Okay.
That's our school administration.
Thank you, Lawrence. Is that a second from Rachel? Thank you, Rachel. Any discussion? No? Great. Let's go ahead and start the vote. Thank you very much. The next item is the tennis court contract. We're back to Michelle.
We recently published a notice to bidders for Indiana Code for a public works project on March 17th and March 24th for the tennis court replacement. That proof of publication is included in your board packets. We received and opened a total of 4 bids on March 31st, with only 3 bids being complete. PCC Sports submitted the lowest bid with a difference of $12,090 from the next lowest bidder. We received a number of positive references for PCC Sports since that time. The base bid from PCC includes a 2-year standard warranty on the post-tension concrete tennis court slab, a 1-year standard warranty on the court surfacing, as well as a 10-year warranty on the sport lighting. Our legal counsel provided the standard A104 construction contract with their preferred language to PCC. The contract was updated and reviewed a second time by legal counsel. Final contracts included in your board packets for approval. Work is slated to begin the last week of May and scheduled to be completed in August. We ask that you please approve the contract with PCC Sports as submitted. Dr. Greiner will share some other details right now before you move forward.
So just quickly, we wanted to point out that we're also planning to work with PCC Sports to relocate the double striped court to the southwest corner court, which is against Cumberland Road and the church. After speaking with several members of the community, as well as talking with Mr. Strode and Mrs. Delaney, we believe that this is a more suitable location. We've also talked with PCC Sports initially already, and they've indicated that this should not be a problem and that we can work through those details as we get the specific drawings developed.
What's the double striped court?
The double stripe would be that you can play pickleball. It's striped for pickleball as well as tennis, and that'll be with one of our courts, which will allow 4 pickleball courts to be on that one court. And recall that we've added a tennis court, so there's no loss to tennis as far as regular striping. But this relocation, after talking with several community members, that where it was right up against the backyard, that seemed to be a more reasonable approach. Got it. Thank you.
Any
Mr.
other
Law.
questions, Rachel?
I move that we approve the tennis court contract as presented.
Is there a second?
I would like second.
Lawrence? Great. Any discussion, Yue?
I feel that there's a design change, right? So we, instead of having the pickleball in the north, we move it to the south. And will we add the pickleball? You will double lined. I mean, will we have 10 tennis courts or we have 9 single lined, 1 double line?
So you will have 10 tennis courts that are just for tennis, but now we will have a tennis court that is striped for tennis and striped for pickleball, and that will be an additional court. It can be multi.
Okay, I see.
Purpose now, yeah.
Okay, that's great. So the tennis has 1 more.
Yeah, that's correct.
Court, and
We'll have
the
11
pickleball
courts,
has,
yeah.
their courts. Okay.
11 courts now, 1 double stripe.
That is correct, and thank you, Dr. Yin,
And
for the
it will
clarifying
be
question.
built between our school and the Israel Temple.
Correct. It'll be up against Cumberland Road and the temple.
Okay, and the temple and has no issue with that. They are okay. How do we need to talk to them?
I think we will be good because we are moving it up to that corner, but we're also going to
It's
still
still
have the,
in our boundary anyway.
yes, and we're still going to have the soundproofing. We still plan to add that mitigation.
Okay, thank you.
Rachel?
Mr. Schroed, thank you for getting the tennis court use covered over the summer. It will be difficult, but I appreciate that information being included in the packet.
Yeah, we've got good partnerships with Purdue if needed, and Harrison has offered to take care of us as well.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Wow, that's very nice of them.
Lawrence?
Yeah, just a quick question. Make sure, so we have still 10 full singles, so-called single strap tennis court. So that's courts you can use for the sectional games, right? In case you qualify for the kind of professional for the games, right? For the sectional.
That is correct, that we are losing no courts that are just striped for tennis. In fact, we've gained one that's now double striped, but it will be striped for pickleball and tennis. But there is no loss to the single striped or striped for tennis only, since we've added that additional court.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Just double check and make sure. And also, I would really appreciate. I want to say some appreciation to our school administrations. There's several months effort, listen to communities, and also collaborative work with our city mayors, RDCs, and we work together. And you guys go through all the due diligences, listen to the residents. So I'm very proud of your administrations. You work diligently on this issue, and I also very proud of our communities. So we work together and make this happen. So everybody better off. So I really appreciate
I
that.
appreciate that input, Mr. Wong, and I truly, like you, appreciate the community members that were willing to come in and meet with me and sit down and talk through it so that they knew that we were listening to their concerns and working together to address those concerns. So thank you, Mr. Wong.
Anybody else? Nope. Okay, let's start the vote to approve. Super. Thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is discussion about graduation, and Mrs. Mumford, that was your item, so please, you have the floor.
I wanted to bring up, so the current practice on the school board for the last few years has been that school board members have stood next to the stairs to assist the students as they come down after receiving their diploma. I appreciate the intention to offer support in case someone trips, but I find that it's distracting to the students. Their faces, they're often confused. Why is this random person they often don't know is there? It blocks the views from parents' photos, and it makes it awkward. So my recommendation would be to use a student or a staff member and let the parent council who plan it to determine the orchestra members are sitting right there, students, and so it would be, you wouldn't even have to have anyone in pictures or blocking it if they were the one doing it, or if the student council decided they wanted to choose a staff member. I just have felt like it has caused, over the several years that I've attended, more of a distraction and is unnecessary.
So just to give you some historical context, when I joined the board members sat on the stage behind the podium and stood up in alternating turns to shake hands on the stage. that changed about, and also the school board president at that time also spoke to the graduates. That changed over time by the board saying to the organizers of commencement, hey, we don't need to be up there. How about if we are seated on the floor? The intent philosophically of having the elementary and intermediate school principals on the entrance side of the stage and a school board member on the exit side of the stage was symbolic at the time. I don't particularly have strong opinions. However, the one strong opinion I have is that it's not our graduation. The great change that happened, and it makes West Lafayette a very unique place, is that our students plan commencement. In fact, the only thing that has to happen at commencement for those students who choose to walk is that the superintendent stands up and declares them graduated. Everything else is extraneous to that. And it is developed and done at the decision of the students. Us telling them what we as board members will and will not do is somewhat akin to my telling one of my children what I am willing to do in their wedding, right? It's just not appropriate of us. What would be appropriate, in my opinion, is to let the teacher, or in this case, the guidance counselor who supports the student's decision-making and planning, know that we are completely flexible on what they would like us to do, and we do not require a role. And then allow the students to determine what is appropriate for the ceremony that they are planning for themselves.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just a quick share. I would echo Daisha and also Rachel regarding these ceremony things. I'm flexible. Whoever the administrations or student council, whoever organizes these ceremonies, if they need my help, I'm flexible. Whatever they want me to stand there, I can stand there. They want me to sit in the. So I'm just flexible. Is the student should be the center of the whole ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you. Yue, did you have something?
And Amy, you may still remember last year I sent you a video from the year before last one or something like that. We board members standing there blocking the camera, blocking the stage, almost like a photo bomb. So that's why I feel. I also agree with Daisha. Students are confused when they look at it. It's hard to tell whether we should shake hands or not. It's really weird. And so I would vote to just sit in the off the stage and celebrate and congratulate them that way, and rather than standing there. And I don't know how dangerous it is, and for them
I've seen
to
those
walk.
shoes. I mean, some of the
walk
girls are
off the
wearing
stage.
big old shoes, but George.
How do other schools handle it?
I have no idea.
I haven't seen any. I went to many graduations at universities, but I haven't seen anyone who's standing off the stage to hold their hands or something. It's
The only actual graduation I remember was my brother and my sister's, and that's because my uncle was on the school board and he was actually handing them their diplomas. So that's,
that's
honestly the
common,
only one
but-
I remember. But let's see what George thinks. George?
Just for traditional reasons, one of the reasons why folks do that is because ladies in giant shoes, it's just good manners, chivalry to help them down large flights of stairs. It doesn't have to be us, but what I wanted to ask is, Rachel, do we need to have a separate motion to move to ask the students what they want, or do we want to go ahead and vote on Dacia's?
Well, it's not a voting item. It's just an information, a discussion among board members. But I can't reiterate to you enough, this is just not our party to plan. So it is up to the students, and they have an extraordinary guide in Mrs. Sheffield in getting that done. So, I mean, by all means, I'm sure you or Dr. Greiner could pass along a message that we as a board are open to what they want to do. That message has been the same message that's been passed along every year, to my knowledge, that we will do what they want us to do. I mean, we can all have opinions about it, but the bottom line, if the senior class tells me that they would like me to wear pink, I will sit there and wear pink and clap like crazy. I really don't care. I'm going to do what they tell me to do.
David, do you have anything to say? You're the one person who hasn't yet.
I was just going to add on to George, it's not just women in shoes. I was voted most likely to trip on gown at graduation. So, but it doesn't really matter to me what we do. Let's tell the students we were fine doing whatever. It's their graduation. I mean, we don't even have to be there from my perspective.
I'm going to be there either
But
way.
yeah, yes, but-
I'll be there too.
yeah, but I'm just saying that, like, let them decide how we're involved.
Okay, Daisha?
I think Rachel made a very valid point, is this is the student's decision, but I think the message needs to be that the school board is not needing to hold their hand, and that's definitely been the tradition, and definitely the student council has just felt like that was what is expected. And so if all the board members are in approval, then I think it would be great to tell the student council, you run it like you would like to, and if we can be an assistance, let us help you, but we don't need to be doing this.
Have you spoken to someone on the student council about this?
If I've served on a student council, and if the board of trustees always did this sort of thing, I would not have spoken up as a senior and said, I don't want you to do that. So that's where that's coming from.
Okay. Well, I will have a conversation with Dr. Greiner and Mrs. Sheffield, and I will communicate our flexibility on this issue. Anything else to talk about with that? Great. Okay. Oh, Lord. The next item is the policy committee discussion. That's the noise I made.
Can we have a work session on it, since it's been, unemployment, or what would you?
I think I am very comfortable postponing this discussion to a later time, given the lateness of the hour, and we will simply have that discussion some other way. Well, the next month working session is the retirement recognition, so that would put us to June. But I think we can have an offline discussion about this without violating any laws. Rachel?
I believe, I know that Lawrence and David and I were charged with being a policy committee. That direction has already been given. We are capable of coming up with a date and time to get that done. I would just propose that we try and do that this month
Okay.
and then see what happens before we
I
decide to
would love
change
that.
the course.
Sure, yeah, what I was going to say is it seems like it's been difficult for the three of you to find a time that was mutually working, and ask if we needed to restructure that committee, but if you guys are comfortable, then I'm comfortable leaving it alone.
I think we can find the time.
Super, okay.
The three of us just wait after the meeting and we can find a time on our calendars, so we don't have to go back and forth.
That'd be wonderful.
The trick is the central office staff
Yeah.
time too, so.
Well, they're here too, so we could have
Or
it.
you can just send us multiple dates.
Yeah.
If you send us multiple dates, we'll find a time. If it's during the school day, we can find a time that works.
We could do the whatever.
Let's just look at our calendars right after.
Okay, super. Let's move on to Dr. Greiner and his superintendent report.
All right, a few things I'd like to quickly share. One, congratulations to Mrs. Kronk. We're thrilled to announce that Mrs. Kronk has been named the Indiana Association of School Business Officials, or IASBO, School Business Official of the Year. This prestigious honor reflects the high regard of her peers that they have for her outstanding leadership across the state. As you saw in Friday Notes, board members are invited to celebrate with her if it fits into your schedule. The event is on May 8th at 6:30 p.m. The distance will be a challenge if you choose to go. It's in Fort Wayne at the Grand Wayne Convention Center. If you're interested in attending, contact Mrs. Julian so that she can reserve your spot. It is complimentary dinner tickets, of course. Congratulations also to our own Mr. Nathan Snyder. I would like to congratulate Nathan on successfully completing Indiana Business Official certification as Human Resource Specialist. He's been working on this for some time. Both Mrs. Austin and I were notified by Dr. Scott Bowling, Executive Director of IASBO, that he has met these requirements. The certification required 73 hours of instruction focused on human resource topics and responsibilities, which is an achievement that reflects Nathan's dedication for professional growth, but also his commitment to serving our district well. And we know that people prefer to get paid. He does it seamlessly, and I'm very proud of him. Excellent service is certainly something that Mr. Snyder is committed to, and anybody that knows him knows that that is the case. Legislative update from our perspective. Like the board, we continue to watch the final weeks of the legislative session. Funding for state tuition support is very minimal to non-existent, depending on enrollment. There may be a shift backwards with regard to funding. So we're watching that closely and are certainly concerned. And then with regard to the property tax relief and how it will impact governmental entities, we are watching that as well. It's something that we will need to address once we fully understand how these efforts will impact our district. As we all know, this has been a moving target, and we continue to monitor it accordingly. The school calendar, as a quick reminder, we will not be in session this Friday, April 18th. It is a scheduled makeup day, and we were not required to use it this summer or this winter, given the pretty decent weather overall. At this time, then, Mrs. Crock, I'd like to ask you to please report out on accounts payable and fund reports.
Okay. Claims for the period of March 5th to April 9th totaled $5,538,345, including regular corporation expenses and the Wabash Valley Education Center expenses. Of this amount, $3,571,748 were paid towards wages, salaries, and benefits of 3 payrolls. I've provided the final fund report for February of 2025 in your board packets. Total cash on hand in all funds was $31,454,320, and the education fund had a cash balance of $7,834,552. Preliminary fund report for March has also been included in your board packets, but we have not yet finished reconciling that month yet. Cash flow, including the month of February, showing the flow of revenue and expenses during that month for the education, referendum, and operations funds, is also included in your board packets.
Super. Thank you both. Let's go backwards today, and we'll start with Yue for her board reports.
The class meeting will be tomorrow at 2 o'clock and in the Dungeon building and on the 9th Street.
Okay.
Any public is welcome to make comments there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rachel?
Just a reminder to everybody, the ISBA regional meeting is on May the 5th at the Beck Agricultural Center. If you have RSVP'd, I will see you there. Notes from the WLCSC. So this is exciting news. The final tally from the March 1st Scarlet and Gray dinner and auction was $47,000. Wow. Raised for WLSCF programs that support our schools. And Wendy would like to pass along her gratitude to all who participated in the event. Last week, the Teacher Grant Committee sent out notifications to all of those who applied for a grant. 6 grants were fully funded for a total of $5,724.99. The total awarded to West Lafayette teachers this school year is $12,484.50. 2 great days with the Wall of Pride class on Thursday and Friday, April 10th and 11th. As we've heard, the honorees met with classes in addition to the other activities that they did. The WLSCF is very grateful to partner with Mr. Rogers and appreciates his efforts. The school looked great, the posters looked great, and the student host really shone, so thank you for that. And finally, the WLSCF will host the annual scholarship reception. That is on Thursday evening, May the 22nd. That recognizes this year's scholarship recipients and the donors who provide scholarships for our seniors. If you have not attended that one in the past, it is a great opportunity, separate from commencement, to really congratulate some of our seniors. I think that's all from me.
Great. Thank you. David?
Again, a reminder, Case and Family Park grand opening on May 22nd. Should be a lot of fun, great park. It was a relatively light meeting at Parks and Rec. There are a couple research studies that we approved that are going on at Celery Bog. For anybody that didn't know, you can do research studies with approval there, and it's a wide range of topics. And then the Wellness Center has been really active and busy throughout the week, transitioning from winter sports and all the kids playing basketball to spring. Saturday they had the the egg hunt where they had 25,000 eggs that the kids just scooped up in like 30 seconds. And it's like a horde of locusts going after those eggs, but it's really cute and a lot of fun.
Great, thank you. Daisha?
The Public Schools Foundation Cupcake Run is September 21st. Registration's open, and early bird pricing is open until the end of April.
Okay, thank you. Lawrence?
Yeah, I joined the community council the first time last week, and we see the libraries, Purdue First Ladies organization, office, superintendent, the principals. So it was very good meetings.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. George?
1 second.
Yep, sorry. I'm sure you have a lot to say with the legislative.
I do.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves, everyone.
Yeah, turn on your microphone and then we can brace, you know.
So there is a lot. For local matters, the Indiana state budget that's being discussed in the Senate no longer contains provisions for universal private school vouchers due to cost concerns. However, the House version still does. So that'll have to be reconciled before it gets to the governor's desk. The West Lafayette City Council will have a vote on SK Hynix's rezoning request on May 5th. PRF and SK Hynix they're planning on holding listening sessions leading up to that vote. And I believe UA and Lawrence were also at the first listening session where they had representatives from the company and representatives from PRF there attempting to answer questions. One thing that people should know if they're following this issue is that there are 2 plots of land in play. Site B, what they are constantly referring to in this latest round of discussions, is what they want to rezone from its current designation to something called I3, so it's a specific kind of industrial zone. There is already another site directly next to it that's zoned exactly the way it needs to be zoned for them to use it. So even if the West Lafayette City Council denies this rezoning motion, SK Hynix and PRF, granted they will probably have to do it with a lot of concern and a little bit of public protest, could go ahead with Site A as planned without any other intervention. So if there's anybody that wants to have their voice heard, they should go ahead and attend those public sessions, and they can check in with the folks at PRF to learn more information about when those are going to be. Also, on another note, Indiana has had several measles cases now. So everybody be aware of that and make sure that you've done what you need to do to protect your family from measles. And then we can continue on to things going on in the State House. Indiana S. Senate Bill 289, the author of that bill is attempting to, I'll put this in quotes, codify the Trump and Braun executive orders banning DEI. Now, that bill has been watered down a little bit since its original version. For example, universities can still have their cultural centers. Current laws on preferences and minority contracting will still apply. But one specific change that they made was that for some scholarships for state institutions, they've changed the qualifications from being a minority to being a resident of what they call an underserved county. Now, the problem with this is they only list 6 or 7 counties that are underserved. And any individual person that is underserved in any other county is going to get excluded with this new language. So that presents a problem for a community like ours, where there may be some underserved students in a county that is not considered underserved. SB 1 is still on the table. In its current form, homeowners save roughly $300 in property taxes. The problem is that the way the bill is currently written, and I'll always be willing to be corrected if I'm wrong on this, but another provision in the bill in its current form gives local municipalities the power to either increase or create their own income taxes. So we have an odd scenario where people may be saving money on property tax, but they may face an increase in personal income tax at the local level to make up for the shortfall. Because otherwise, if the tax bill goes on as written and nothing is done, municipalities across the state will be facing a shortfall of roughly $1 billion, and educational institutions will bear the brunt of that. Now, interestingly, Lieutenant Governor Beckwith doesn't support this, and he's actually been openly lobbying Governor Braun to veto it. There is also some reconciliations that still have to happen between the House version and the Senate version, but it's still up in the air. This likely will get passed, but there's no guarantee that's going to get passed in its current form. This one is of particular interest to us. Indiana Senate Bill 244 could mandate adding a video of a pregnancy ultrasound to elementary level sex education courses. Of course, participation in sex ed is still subject to parental consent. So what you have here is a bill that's designed to show the results of non-abstinence, despite the fact that we are supposed to emphasize abstinence in sex education. So we've got that. Indiana Senate Bill 255 would allow high school students to replace an elective course with a religious instruction course. Now, this is a modification to existing laws. Existing law applies at all age levels, where students can miss up to 120 minutes of school instruction per week for religious instruction. This is an attempt to essentially carve out class time for high school students to make it fit more in line with their schedules. The partisan school board bill, Indiana SB 287, has passed both houses. However, this is another bill that can't go to the governor's desk because there are some discrepancies between the House version and the Senate version. If they can't reconcile it, the bill won't pass. The current version right now that they're arguing about, the difference is whether or not school board candidates will have to go through a primary. One version has it, the other version doesn't. And then finally, there are some federal things that are affecting us. So there's been a letter sent out from the Federal Department of Education to the states asking them to certify that they aren't engaging in illegal DEI. Never mind the difficulty in defining what illegal DEI is, but some school districts have signed the letter, some have not. Two major school districts that have not signed it are New York City Public Schools and the LA Unified School District. So that's, school districts that represent nearly 2 million students that have refused to do that. ICE is continuing to do whatever it can to reach inside schools to reach migrant students. Some school districts, particularly in Chicago, have had success in telling them no. So far, they have not forced their way in, but with the way things are going, it may only be a matter of time before they finally decide to do that. And then on a slightly lighter note, Google is facing a lawsuit from parents and teachers out west in California, Arizona, and Oregon, and they claim that Google is using student data to do product marketing. Under the terms of their standard education contract, they're not supposed to do this, but the plaintiffs apparently think that Google is either ignoring their own contract language or exploiting some kind of loophole. So there may be some developments on that score because we use Google technologies here in this district, and that decision could potentially filter down to us. And that's all I got.
Wow, that is a lot to keep track of. Thank you very much for all those updates. Mine are a little lighter. At the RDC meeting, they showed some very cool renderings of the new Public Safety Center, which will be located where the West Lafayette Police Department is now. They're going to expand that building and include the existing building in the expansion, and it will house both the fire department and the police department. And a notable improvement is that the fire trucks will be able to pull straight through rather than having to do a 12-point turnaround in front of fresh time there. And also that they will have a decontamination area for their gear, which will increase the safety and health of our firefighters. And both the RDC and the board teacher discussion meetings are this week. Finally, I would like to congratulate all of us on achieving the rating of advanced as a group for the Exemplary Governance Awards from ISBA. The individuals who leveled up are myself. I achieved level 3, which is distinguished, and Yui achieved level 2, which is advanced, and Lawrence achieved level 3, which is distinguished. And for our newer members, you achieve those by attending training, and you receive points, different amounts of points for different meetings. So the dinner in the fall and spring is, I think, 10, and the fall conference is not nearly enough at like 25 because that's a several day commitment, but you work through the levels, and I'm sure Rachel achieved level 4 years ago, but we, that's what we're working on. So with that, I will list the future meeting, the work session. We do have the opportunity to work from 5 to 5:30, but I'm not sure that would be very productive, and the retirement banquet or recognition starts at 5:30 in this location, so we'll probably just be here then, unless I inform you otherwise. And the regular board meeting will begin at 6 on May 12th, same day. And as Dr. Greiner said, there's a...
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The retirement is in June.
Oh, shoot, really? I've been wrong all month. Okay, well, forget it. We may do a work session. I'll let you know. Good night. And the snowmaker day we already talked about. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? Is there a motion? Rachel? Is there a second? George? All those in favor, please hit buttons. There we go. We are adjourned at 8:38. Thank you.